What is up, people? So, like I said, told you, I was going to go back on. In fact, let me know if the fan is loud in the audio. I can't really, it's not showing up on my meter, but it does get loud. What up, Aaron? How you doing, sir? Can you hear me? Nope, you can't hear me. I forgot to do my settings over here. 1 second. Nope, damn it. There we go. Can you hear me? All right, cool. My bad. Forgot to do the settings in here. You want more of the what? Why? Oh, hang on. Hang on. What? What's up, Jay? They're wolves. No, those are badass. Do you know what they're even from? Congratulations. And for everyone, I sorry I forgot to turn the mute button off for the panel, but trust me, Jay doesn't say much anyway.
Yes.
Don't answer that question. You can talk about Bacon Crash. Go ahead, but do not ask that question.
First no fun tonight, John.
Yeah, the first person that tells me what the wolf says, it gets booted. I have 11-year-olds. I have a 12-year-old son. I know exactly what the damn fox says. So how you guys doing?
Does the fuck? Okay.
So which Aaron do we have?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing actually really good.
You're coming back. You're a 2-time show up today.
Yeah, I may even do a third.
Gee whiz, you're fucking awesome, bro. Honestly, doing work. You know what I mean? So what kind of show do you want tonight? Like what kind?
It's the BS show, man. We're just bullshitting today.
Okay,
we don't even have to talk about Shape of the Earth. I don't even care.
Exactly.
Literally,
there we go.
I'm literally live just because.
Pineapple belongs on pizza.
What'd you say?
I disagree. No, get out.
Why
you're not?
Hang on, time out.
Who
Crash.
said that?
Crash.
Feels,
I've heard you say. I've heard you go both ways on that. What kind of person are you? Are you Canadian?
First of all, it's not a.
Depends on where my old lady's at.
Sean, first of all, he's not Italian, so I don't know what right he has to talk about pizza. First of all.
Well, he's talking about with pineapple on it. So it's not even a real pizza.
Don't matter.
Exactly.
The dependent variable there is pizza, right?
Chewing. Where did you get it from? Those are the those are the variables.
Yeah, and he's not Italian. That's the independent variable, apparently.
Yes, but I am in Chicago, so I know what a good pizza tastes like.
Oh shit! Are you Chicago Italian or Chicago American? Which one?
Listen, we have everything. Yeah,
I know, but where'd you come from? Where did Chicago come from? I mean, come on. Let's go to the independent variable there.
Chicago comes from Illinois.
No.
Yes.
Gee whiz.
Which means I'm about 2 hours from you, Jay.
Where are you located?
Just outside of Springfield.
Oh wow, Springfield. We take
Illinois. Yeah, it's Illinois.
Oh, don't say that.
Anyway.
Someone's in trouble. Ha 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 ha.
55 and 57 South, your choice.
So Crash. So you know where Jay's at by his description?
He's in Chicago. I don't know exactly where.
Never mind. I'm on a mission to find Jay. Just want everyone to know
Yes,
that
he
now
is.
Jay is confused. He doesn't know if he wants to be a cop or not.
No,
You want to
no,
be a cop in Chicago?
I actually, no. If I was, I have an agency in Indiana. I would go to either that or Indiana State Police. But I'm just right now. I'm in school to get my CDL, so that I put that behind me for right now.
Make sure
Yeah.
before you become a cop, CDL's all right, but before you become a cop, make sure you kind of do a double check on the laws that you might be enforcing against me or people on the panel, shit like that, because we get really pissed off when you don't know the laws and you enforce them on us, and we're just like, what? And then you take us to jail, So.
Well, the thing is with that is, I wouldn't really enforce most laws unless it's Sean. So, like, what I would do is I would fly Sean out, and then
Would
I would
fly me
give.
out. Like I would.
Yes.
Wait. I would never in my life accept a plane ticket from a cop.
Red flag.
Okay.
You got a red
Okay.
flag.
Just imagine.
Okay,
I'm like, I'm going to Chicago, and they're like, "Did the cop give you that ticket?" Yeah, narc.
All right, let me fix it. I would somehow get Sean. I would tell him that there's a magic pill that would make him grow a few more inches.
Ooh.
Actually, I would actually like to request a pill that would make me lose like 3 inches, because,
Yeah, because your belly's fat.
The best thing to tell cops is they're not my saddlebags and I don't have keys.
There you go.
Wow.
yeah.
Crash it. Me and you agree right there.
Someone said had jail time. She
Say
usually
what?
those ones. Nothing.
Oh, I've had plenty of jail time, so yeah.
That's always nice.
The ether band.
Illinois Department of Corrections is friendly.
Love the Department of Enforcement. Yes. Here we go.
Yes, Illinois, the place where you
Now-
have to get. Oh, What?
Well, what Jay's not telling you is that that's what he wants to be, but realistically, he's sending resumes into the local malls.
local malls.
What's up, Montreal? How you doing, sir?
Very good. What's up, Sean G? What's up, guys?
Hanging
Montreal's badass.
Montreal.
Illinois, come on vacation, leave on probation.
Yes.
What's wrong with you people? Can't you guys just act like adults?
No.
Talking about
Because
cop.
literally everything in Illinois can be bumped to a felony charge for something stupid.
Oh, well, I smoked a joint in front of a cop the other day. It was fun.
Yeah, well, there are studies that have gone out that says when you walk out your door, you commit 8 felonies just by walking out your door. I haven't followed up on them to see what they are.
I'm gonna have to
But,
say that,
you know,
that's
just
probably
the-
just
the-
you.
Yeah, but the overcome exactly. Maybe you too, right? Right. Yeah.
At least 1.5.
Exactly. There we go. So
What's up, Carlos? What's up, Unpaid?
We'll at least admit to like a couple felonies when we walk out our door because we're breaking some sort of law. Some
At least you guys can still own mag lights, so
Ha 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 ha.
Oh, I'm moving to Texas.
I live here.
Why?
Don't move here, dude. It's bad, dude. It's bad.
I'm not allowed to talk about
live-
Texas.
I live in Northeast Texas. It's bad.
Wait. No, Sean. What did you do in Texas?
No comment.
We want to know.
No, you don't.
People want to know.
No.
Why
they're
did Sean G?
No one's gonna know on this live stream. That's for damn sure. Maybe when we go off, I'll tell you.
Why did Mr. Sean G go to San Antonio?
Damn, doxing my penis and everything. I've said too much.
he went to
Except
San
that.
Antonio to get that badass hat.
Okay, can we stop talking about Texas, please?
Yeah. Hey, focus, Sean.
Guys are getting
Let's go.
shot.
Let's go. Come on. You've got viewers, you got listeners, you got the participants now that want to know what's the topic.
What's going on, party people?
What's up, Carlos? And I don't know, you guys picked the damn topic. I said I picked open topic. It says late night BSing open panel.
Okay.
Shout out to
Cool.
Mount Rainier, working on a video, made a model of Mount Rainier.
What the hell is that?
This is Mount Rainier, man. I made a model of it. I'm working on a
shit.
video.
Oh, nice. Hey, Carlos,
I was
since you're
expecting
doing
you
that,
to put that on administrators.
hey, do me a favor, Carlos. Are you making multiple mountains or just the one?
I've got one right now.
Put-
I started with a topographical view of it and just shaped it. I mean, it's a little bit exaggerated as far as the height, but well, what do you need to want to replicate what Earth is here Pat did the other day?
Yes. 100%. And because he doesn't want to admit that how it makes sense that way, I need someone honest to actually do it with a clear imagery. You can actually see it.
So what you know what? That's basically my video there. I can do one. I don't want to give everything away. So what I can do is I can go outside and get on my mobile phone and get a big flashlight and I'll just do whatever you ask me to do with it. How about that?
If that's going to be part of your upload, then just do it. I'll wait.
What's the upload?
Or did
Okay,
you say you're gonna that's part of what you're doing?
Is Barney on?
No, then I'll wait, man. Go ahead, do your thing.
What do you want to see? You want to see the light moving and casting a shadow?
Yeah, whether how the sun hits the mountains in the morning on a sunrise and sunset.
Sean, is Barney on? Is Barney on here?
Do you see Barney on here?
I don't know. I'm on my fucking phone. I didn't look through the fucking
Aaron sometimes has a hard time leaving Hangouts. Do you expect him to know who's all in?
I forgot about that.
Oh, crashes.
Let's see if I still. Hey, I think I still have that.
I will slap you. It's okay.
I'm so scared. I
By
can't leave.
far the funniest moment I've ever had on Hangouts.
It was pretty funny.
It was crazy. It's just we were talking, and then bam, out of nowhere, Aaron's stuck.
Let's laugh about it. That was pretty funny. Montreal. Are you there?
Montreal, talk. He needs to change the subject.
Are you there?
He's sleeping.
He left.
Oh, he left. I got these two
Now
guys.
he's back.
Because your chat was so boring. Come on. We need
easy, man.
Sorry, guys, I dropped. I'm back.
What's up, man?
Wait, who's
Montreal, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, this is Aaron. I think you may have seen me or known me. I've high-fived you on chats before.
Yes. What's up, Aaron? How's it going?
Hey, did you see Bob's video recently of his buoyancy videos? Did you see the two-part series?
Yeah, the one where he completely explained how Riley falsified and misunderstood exactly what he was even doing.
Yeah, Montreal.
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen it?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good science.
Well, what
I'll
was
check it out.
Yeah, it's worth a check out. I think the first one's 15 minutes. Second one's like 8 minutes. Not too hard. But I have a question to ask you if you had watched those videos, because of what Bob presented for.
Ask it anyways.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to explain. I can't do it like explaining it. In the video, Bob took a video of dropping a water bottle that had an air pump on it to pump bubbles up into the bottle. You see how confusing this is getting already? And
yeah, maybe I'll watch it and you
one
can
and
ask
only
me on the rebound.
Yeah.
Is Aaron Morfeld here?
What's up? What's up, Maxwell?
What's
up,
going
man?
on?
I was looking for that Aaron.
Hey, Maxwell.
He's here.
Hey, Montreal.
You just gotta
Yeah,
look for
this
him.
is Aaron.
Is this Aaron?
Yes, sir.
What's up, dude?
Wait, the
Hey,
one and only Aaron?
The one and only, man.
How you been doing?
What's up, dude?
How you been doing, man?
Pretty good, man.
All right, Sean. I'm gonna do that thing for you, but you have to share my video when I put it out.
Absolutely.
There's
Oh,
some.
Carlos, we
oh,
could have made that
Carlos.
so much better. You could have had him send me the damn hat too.
Hey, Carlos, you didn't know, but my stream bot, if you look in the chat,
Yeah.
your link will come up.
Really?
Don't trust it.
Yep, but I spelled your name differently though. I don't know. Damn it! Did I say? Hang on, I gotta go to stream. I hate this bot.
FY, I do have two, Mr. Gadget and then Carlos Pagan, which is my last one is actually just fire content. The
Okay,
3
well,
videos I have.
check the, or I'll check it, but because I have one of your links in my description, I just don't know which one it is. If it's the right one.
Shields
Hold on.
and crashes. If you want to talk to me, just go ahead. You know, everything's fine. Anyway. Hello, Shields. Hello, crashes.
No.
That was funny.
Oh yeah,
No.
I see you.
No.
Nope. Nah.
No.
Denied.
Nuh-uh.
You just smacked the ball out of your hand and it hurt.
Exactly. Yeah, just smacking shit out of the way. Just no. Fuck that. Great, Sean. So every time I speak up, bang. Just smacking shit out of the way.
Watch, he's gonna drop his beer. It's gonna be awesome.
Hey, Sean,
Hey,
did you know
hang on.
that?
And Aaron, when you drop your beer, I just want you to know it was gravity.
Are you sure?
I'm more than sure.
Okay. Well, I might believe you at that point. But.
Hey, Crashes, I'm ready. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Baby drone.
Hey, Carlos, just all you gotta do is set up a little, like a 22 size gun on that, like, or for like a missile, and just shoot anything big down he has. You'll be good.
Well, basically, actually, all you have to do is put a C4 charge and a little penny in the bottom, and as you approach the target, you flip like that.
Shoot the penny.
That is a confirmed terrorist.
Look, Crashes. I think I showed you this before. My first build.
Yeah.
Got it already. Yeah.
I
Wait,
got
Carlos,
the big truck stuff going on.
Yeah, hey, Crash. I want one of those fucking trucks, man. Make me a deal on one. Seriously. I want a scale, hopefully a Jeep.
Oh, hold on a second. Yeah.
Jeep is the best.
I don't even care. Well, I need suspension, but
Yeah, suspension.
thank you, John S. I do appreciate that. He says, "My shout at the bar." Are you at the bar,
You
John?
see that, Sean?
Enjoy yourself, huh? Oh, yep. Cherokee.
Yep.
Grand Cherokee?
No, that's
no, it's
that's regular.
It's a square bottom.
Oh.
But it's got a metal rack and fucking LEDs everywhere on it.
Now, do you have a chassis for that bad boy?
A Chasis.
The only thing I'm missing for it is I need to get a set of axles for it.
Ah, cool. Yeah, we'll talk off air, but I definitely want one, and I would want a custom, the shell customized.
Oh yeah, if you wanted something built, dude, you can buy that same body as a hard body on Amazon for like $70, and then you get into the crazy weathering and painting that I do for everybody else.
A buddy of mine, what he does is he gets like the cheapy bodies. Like I think he picks them up for like $17, $18, and he puts some kind of like film inside of it to stiffen it, or not stiffen it, but make it stronger, so it doesn't rip or peel.
I ordered my Dungeons at 11 o'clock last night.
Injection molded bodies are they're just nicer.
It's better than eBay.
See that, Sean?
Yeah. What the hell is that? Oh, you got a camera on it. That's badass. Now, I know I was going to ask you, Carlos. You're not even in your garage now. You're like in your den right now.
I didn't know this is my office.
Yeah, yeah. You have a office garage and a garage.
No, this is. Hang on. You want a tour? Here, I'll
Well,
tell you what.
wherever
Let's do
you're looking, whatever's behind you right now looks more officey than whatever I've seen before.
Okay, hang on. That's my workbench, right? Behind me. And then you turn this way, and that's my
I remember
shelf.
that.
And then you turn this way, and yeah, my office.
When the camera's pointed at your workbench, you look more
Uh-huh.
professional. It looks more clean and professional. And then when you turn the camera around, you can see how much of a kid you are.
You talking about my R2D2 collection? All R2D2s I
All your
have?
toys.
Oh, look at them all just trashed in the corner.
Your 1970s television. We like that.
That's awesome.
And
Anyway,
one day, Carlos's inventions are going to rise up against him, and we're going to watch it live on here.
you're gonna watch it on.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me switch over to my phone.
Hey,
Forget
Carlos,
this computer.
we just
Yeah?
ordered 2 pair of the new DJI goggles.
What kind?
DJI
The
what?
DJI
Oh,
goggles.
DJI?
Yeah.
Meh.
Oh, Mavic.
No, the new race goggles they just released today.
Oh, the goggles.
I would like to say, Carlos, thank you. I'm happy to see that you are now a middle-aged man again.
Hold on, Hank. I gotta do this thing.
Is it me or is his
It's a lot.
resolution crappy as it gets?
Most of your race drone setups have real crappy resolution because we're more worried about the speed of the film of the signal.
Is that better?
No.
Not at all.
We're worried about the speed of the.
It's the fact that Carlos, it's the fact that you're making 3 cameras render to get the image to us. It's like, look, dude, it's like you can see me through this screen, and that screen.
Yeah, perfect for UFO footage.
Yeah, Carlos is Dell on 5G. That's what he is.
For real. Hang on, let me do.
Carlos is 5G, didn't you know?
I don't know if I like
now
5G or not. Won't 5G make my internet faster if I got it?
I don't know.
Yes.
You just saw it live on your channel right there.
Well, I don't know if I'm for it or against it now.
I know.
I mean, and I do a lot of graphics in the background and stuff, so like, I don't know. I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
All right, here we go. You see now?
Let me see.
It's done.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm trying to show.
He's dancing. He's dancing apparently.
I'm not even paying attention. What?
What's with all the old TVs?
I'm trying. They're old TVs.
Parallax. Parallax. Parallax.
There you go. Parallax.
You don't want to pay to get rid of them or what?
I know, man. It's horrible. It's pink.
He's a hoarder.
Hate it. I'm not a hoarder. I only have like 60 of these little TVs.
Why, do they work?
Yes, actually.
No, you don't have to show us.
Look at that one. It's got a built-in VCR. That's awesome.
I want to
Oh
show
my
you
God,
guys.
Sean. Thanks, Sean.
Hang on.
Thank you, Sean.
I just switched to. All right, Sean. There we go. So there's that. There's the computer.
Office.
The office. You got the flat Earth map. Shout out to Pichet and the Dodo. You got different projection. Got my globe. Got my globe / flat Earth logo.
MTV. Nice.
So he's 2014 educated right there. Right?
Yeah.
And you
then you
still
have a.
haven't fixed the Millennium Falcon.
I
Do I
still,
see
yeah,
a-
I still haven't done it. It's coming, but you
And
Do
can
I
it's,
see
see
all
a
my.
Carlos? Do I see a Fat Shark goggles box?
Wait, Carlos, you have kids, don't you?
Well, my oldest one's 7. This stuff is mine. I ain't
I
afraid of.
understand that. I'm just surprised any woman would have a child with you.
With
oh
children.
my God! Look
So-
at all
so,
that
like,
stuff.
in
Look
between,
at
like,
that stuff.
playtime, is it that when like that happens?
Dude, 2 R2D2s? 2 of
3.
them? Why
Yeah,
do you
like
need
Got
5
more
of
than
them.
that, man.
It's like
Actually,
5.
no. I got, let's see, I got this
Oh
one.
wow!
Been looking
This is
through,
I got this.
amazing.
we've been looking through his
Carlos, you
garage
gotta
for a while now.
I got
Carlos,
these 2, and I got those 2, and I got that one.
Hey, Carlos,
I
I've got a 2-foot remote control R2 sitting in my cupboard.
2 feet.
dude, talk about. I mean,
What do you want to talk about, Aaron?
I can't say it because I don't want to be rude.
Hey, Sean, you want to see a good way to spend
I
$1,000?
don't care.
What's that?
Talk about
Hang on, I
talk
gotta.
about talk about being religious. I mean, into the system. You know. I mean, let's just
Oh
talk
my
about
goodness.
it. Let's talk about it.
Wait, what do you want to talk
Anyway,
about?
Hey, Carlos, I mean no bad things. I'm religious. Everyone
I
is.
know.
What the hell is
So
that?
hang on.
But
What?
gee whiz, man,
Montreal, what is that?
you have shelves and
I'm so glad
shelves.
you asked. That's in honor of our buddy Crashes.
Hang on.
He
Hang
he asked me to check out the gyro car. What's up, Crashes?
Yeah, I'm gonna share it real
Fuck
quick.
crashes.
Not much.
on. I wasn't done with my tour.
I just posted it. I didn't say nothing. I was
Okay.
waiting, bro.
So there's
Fuck
I
off,
was
I
waiting.
saw it and I clicked. I was like, "What the hell is that thing? That is the ugliest looking car on earth."
Yes, but it's
1967
self-stabilized.
gyro car.
I'm trying to make it so it's a big screen so you guys can share it.
Sorry, Carlos. Go ahead, bro. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
It's okay. I have enough R2D2s to be happy.
It's a pretty interesting car there, isn't it, Montreal?
I'm about to present it right now.
It blew my mind, Crashes. I thought I'd seen all cars, but not this one, man. This, especially
Pretty cool,
those
huh?
2 trainer wheels in the back there. You check that out?
Yeah, they're only
Stabilizers.
used when you're spinning the gyro up. At any time the gyro is running on the car, it'll self-stabilize itself.
Hey, Montreal, I bet you never seen this car.
You're right, bro. I haven't.
You
That's
have
the
it,
Mars
really?
moon. That's the Mars rover.
No, that's the
Whatever
moon
the hell
rover.
it is. The moon rover.
Let's see.
Looks
if
like
we
the
can-
looks like the Flintstones rover.
Exactly.
He said exactly. Anyway, I'm gonna go out there and do that thing for you, Sean. Just give me a few minutes. I'll be right back.
All right, awesome. So it's a motorcycle with training wheels.
No, it has a gyro, and the training wheels are only for when the gyro is not running.
So the car stays on it. I don't.
Once the gyro's spun up, you can push on that car and do whatever you want, and it will stay balanced.
Do they show that? Why would
I
you
don't
want
know
a
if they
car
do.
like
That is a
that?
work of art, man. That is a work of art. Check it out.
I don't know if it's this video they do it, but in the video where they restored it, yes, they did.
Oh, I see. So when you stop, it doesn't fall.
Yeah, it'll stay upright.
It just crashed into the house.
Yeah, that's
comes the
not safe,
Jetsons.
man. That's silly.
I want to see him stop. I want to see what happens. Those things
I
go
want
down.
to see it fall over.
You guys are assholes. I want to see him go in the ocean. See if it can fly.
Now tell me that ain't cool, man. Tell me that ain't cool.
That is pretty. I mean, it's badass and what how it's built, but I wouldn't be caught dead driving that thing.
It's impractical.
I mean, I actually enjoy getting laid, so
It's totally practical. Yeah.
Yeah, you could put 20 kilos of groceries in one side of the boot and it'd fall over.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think
swing
that thing
by.
even has a trunk.
Yeah, and
So
swing
it
by
will
and pick up
fall
your
over.
wife.
That's the
Yeah.
wonderful part about the car. I got to find the other video where they're playing around with the gyro on it.
That'd be
All right,
badass.
hey.
You
Hey,
know?
Crashes. You know the top speed?
I don't know it off the top of my head now.
The top speed
20 miles an hour.
before it falls over.
Engine in it.
Before it falls over on your wife, right?
20 miles an hour, that's like 35 kilometers. I
You-
can ride
you-
a push
you open
bike
the door-
faster than that.
You have to
Yeah,
buy
yeah,
doors.
skateboarders go faster.
Yeah, you have to buy doors every time you stop. You know.
What is the point of that car?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
But the thing is, you can build something, right, that looks and is impractical, but certain things that you do to make it work can go on to help make something else that's better, that uses some of that
Okay, yeah,
technology.
you say this. Give an example. Come on.
There, I just posted a link to why that car was special. It's because the entire car was stabilized by a gyro. You could park that car, and as long as the gyro was spinning, it would not fall over.
No crashes, zero. No.
No way.
Don't make a lie.
Even standing still?
How's that car stabilized again?
Don't make
got
a
a-
lie.
Wow.
Flywheel
Angular
gyro.
momentum.
Montreal. He's just talking bullshit. We know it. You
No,
know it.
Wait, didn't you just see the car and how it? The hell is wrong with you, Aaron? You're on number 5, aren't you?
You
I
ain't
just
fucking gonna
I just
stop
posted
some.
the specs on the car and how the
No.
gyro.
You're not gonna stop some balanced weight with a small ass gyro to say in a car that you can open the door, get out, and get back in, and say, oh, yep, I'm still upright and on
How
2
do you think
wheels,
he?
and I can
Uh,
take off.
the
How do you think he
Segway.
got in and got out?
The Segway is the perfect example of how a gyroscope helps stabilize something.
Yes.
Yeah, I know how
Hey,
gyroscopes
wait.
help.
The gyroscope in a Segway does not work. You do know what happened to the owner, right? Or the inventor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
Yeah, but
ironic
it
is
was
that
the-
shit?
The entire
was-
gyro car was a study into what was possible with a gyro in the late 60s.
The fact that they managed to rebuild it is
Kind of looks like
a
where that car
testament to-
came from.
Hang on, Aaron.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps cutting them off. Feel all bad and shit. Go ahead, Dominic. Hello.
The fact that they could restore something from 50, 60 years ago to make it work again is fantastic. But why fix a stupid idea?
To make
Like the lunar module,
a stupid idea that works.
It's history, man. It's history.
like the lunar module, or landing on the moon again from 50 or 60 years ago.
That has
That vehicle doesn't
Can't
require
do
to
with
have
that.
ground stations using analog technology to track stuff.
'Cause all they had to do was add one more wheel instead of having a damn gyro.
Yeah, then you're a
Oh,
tricycle.
you mean like the Robin, the
They did add a
Reliant?
wheel, they just put it inside.
Exactly.
They put the third wheel inside is the problem.
Have you guys seen the Reliant Robin?
Nope.
No,
It's the 3-wheeled vehicle from England.
3 wheels. Okay. And
Yeah, okay, so it was basically a 3-wheeled motorbike with a car body put on top.
Okay. And
Like a tricycle.
Okay, so you've got 2 wheels at the back and 1 at the front. What happens if you're turning left and brake?
Fuck yeah.
what do you mean?
That's a good one.
Back wheel comes up.
You turn left and brake, and it dips to the right-hand side, and you fall over.
Haven't you ever ridden a tricycle?
How
What the hell's
fast
wrong
are
with you?
how fast are you going when you tip the brake? How fast?
Doesn't
Fast
really
enough.
matter. That's why two-wheelers are illegal in the
Yes,
U.S.
it does. I've ridden a tricycle.
Oh yeah, I used to have a 250R.
I got a big red sitting out in the garage, Sean G.
Say
I
again?
crashed a 350X into the side of my truck and broke both my arms.
That sounds like
Absolutely.
something you would do, Maxwell.
Yeah, I was in a wheelie in fourth gear and freaking didn't realize it didn't have rear brakes.
Downshift.
Well, but then you
Have you
headed
ever ridden
straight
a
towards your garage,
350X?
Maxwell. Then
Yes.
you headed straight towards your garage. You couldn't
So
steer.
then you
I
know
used to-
that in a wheelie in fourth gear, you're probably doing about 45, 50 miles an hour.
That's cute.
And then all of a sudden there's shit in the way and you can't do nothing.
Well, here's the thing. I actually I raced quads. I don't know if you guys know what the Plaster City race is. I'm trashy. I think you do actually. I think I ever talked about it. But it's like a 125-mile race for quads and doing buggies and shit like that. But when your wheels are in the air, you're slowing down. Or not better yet, you're not going to go as fast as you should be.
Yeah, because that's why you do a wheelie, right?
So
No,
you can
it's
impress somebody and run into her.
No,
Both
what
your
I mean is,
Well,
what I mean is when the engine's powering the front wheels forward, but the wheels come up, your front wheels do slow down, like Sean just said.
Oh, well, yeah.
yeah, but that's still not anything
That-
more than about an inch off the ground is wasted horsepower. You're using torque to lift the front of the car instead of driving forward.
And I
That's
think I'm almost positive. I think that like a motorcycle it only really matters like that on like say asphalt, and that'd be more because of the friction that when a stop tire hits
Traction, traction surface. Right?
the same stuff applies to downhill skiers. If they're in the air, they're slowing down. If they're on the freaking snow, they're going faster.
All right, Sean D. I'm ready. I got my flashlight here.
All right, hang on. So I want to make sure I get this. There we go. Full panel. Perfect.
So those are
All
pieces
right.
of styrofoam. Those are pieces of styrofoam emulating mountains. I got this.
What are we doing? A flat Earth experiment?
Pretty much.
Oh, hi, Terry.
The other day,
flatter. Yep.
Yeah, the other day, Earth is Seriously Flat had a 3D topo map, and I had noticed I had noticed when he had shined his cell phone light on it, it depicted the sunrise, sunset. And it dawned on me, like, there's a very clear thing that happens when the sun is rising on the mountain. Like when the sun rises to the mountains, someone had said, yeah, the sun hits the top of the mountains before the bottom. Well, if you came from a distance and didn't change the sun's elevation at all, it would basically become brighter. It wouldn't light from the top up.
All right. What do you need me to do with the light, Sean?
For right now, I guess walk away from it and just walk straight to it as if we're doing a flat Earth sun.
All right.
So it should be like the sunrise.
Is there a full moon out as well?
Hopefully Aaron pulls his pants up and we'll be all right.
What the hell? Am I on live? Am I on camera? What the hell?
No. No.
How'd you know? How the fuck did you know?
Oh, look, how did that? How
The
is
sun
it?
doesn't move across the sky that fast, Carlos.
Yeah, but
I can slow it down in my editing.
Yeah, but Sean, did you notice how as he moved the light away, the darkness just evened up on the objects?
On everything, yeah.
Yeah, so it didn't go up or down. It just got darker.
Yep. Now,
uniformly.
Carlos, use the edge of the concrete as your horizon and do the sunrise, sunset.
Oh yeah, that'll look cool.
All right, let me move this back a little bit.
Yeah.
Lucky it's not windy, Carlos.
The worst part is
Yeah,
he gives us these bits and pieces of styrofoam, and he has a badass looking mountain inside.
That's right.
Look at the creeper van in the background.
Oh, look, there it is. Come on, I've got candy.
Yeah, so the ledge is going to be your horizon.
What, not the ice wall?
I think that's a club.
Is that like that's where the ether band plays?
Jesus Christ. Right down with the ether band shit.
I like the ether band.
There you go. Perfect.
Shout out
Did
to the Blame
exactly what
Truth.
we did exactly what we depicted. The light starts at the top of the objects and then lights up as it goes down, as the sun comes up.
Shout out to Plain Truth.
Wait, is he in the chat? I hope he's not in the chat with that bull crap. I'm gonna start banning people that say ether ban. And that's
Okay,
pretty much it, Carlos. That was awesome.
Either band then.
Normally, if you say it enough, Travis will appear.
He might appear.
Hey, anyone else think that pink bike in the distance is Carlos's?
Yep.
No.
Yes, actually, it looks about the right height for him.
Has it got training wheels?
Yes.
If it's got training wheels, it's Carlos's bike.
Thanks, Carlos.
You're welcome.
Right now, his neighbors are going, "What the hell is that guy doing? Is he on drugs?"
Yes.
Who do you think sold it to him?
Yeah, I'll show you my house.
That's a funny looking house.
That'd be okay for short people. Anyone we know that's short that fit in there?
Oh, that's where Dell lives. That's Dell's Shed Rage High.
Hey,
you
I'm
locked
trying
Aaron
to,
up? Is that where Aaron lives?
I'm trying to
I'm gonna
build
go
one of those.
my water heater.
Hey, that was like
Hey,
perfect. Hey,
Shield.
Carlos, you just did another perfect upload. Hey, that was perfect for a perspective, because when you first showed that place, it looked very tiny.
Does that doorbell work?
Yeah,
You
when
can
you
just
press
hear
the
it?
bell, does it go, no? No.
No.
Oh,
Shills. I built mine a little bit bigger than that, but yes, it's the same concept. Same concept.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll show you some perspective real quick. Hang on. I'll turn this around so I can see myself.
Carlos's neighbors are like, "Why is that weird guy always walking around with cameras and
Why
shit?"
is this my?
Because he's a
What's he
mad
looking for?
scientist.
Lights and cameras.
What kind of doom bug you got?
Actually,
What's he doing? Talking about this weird
What
stuff
time is it
called,
over there?
you know,
About 20 past 11 for Carlos? Or is he on the West
Yeah.
Coast?
No, I don't
God,
think it's West
Central
Coast.
time.
yeah, it's
So it's about
11:20 here in Central Time.
Oh, so I got Eastern time here.
What do you
think it's
in the future? Let me guess, Terry. It's Monday, isn't it?
It's Monday, 5:19 a.m. No, it's not. It's Monday, 2:19.
Get a
it's
job.
2 o'clock, Terry.
It's
Get a job,
20 past 2. I got the wrong time, Dave.
In the afternoon, right?
Gee,
Yeah, in the
man.
afternoon, yeah.
Get a
And I'm
job.
half an hour
And I know
behind
what you're
Terry.
going to say, Sean, so don't say it.
As long as I don't have to.
Terry, you sound retired, so I'll say get a job.
You say retarded? Because if you just did, I'll be
No,
offended.
retired. I said retired, not retarded. Retired.
Why would you tell someone who's retired to get a job? That's the
For
term
real.
of retirement, is you don't work anymore.
That's why it was funny.
It's official.
Yeah,
Aaron is at approximately beer 6.
Yep.
Okay.
3.4
That's silly
one
funny.
Oh, you guys think I'm kidding?
3.1424 pi.
I literally have learned the drunkenness of Aaron. I can tell how many beers he's gone deep by
It's
how he
based on
talks.
the radius. It's based on the radius of our communication and pi.
Or the radius of the beer can and how much you can fit in your mouth.
Absolutely.
Apple pie or?
No. Let's go see if I can get some opossums.
Hey, Sean, I've already judged you, but I don't, make that public either. You know what I mean?
You should.
Yeah. Why would I? We're good friends. Fuck that.
No homo.
Actually-
You think I'm sexy.
Carlos, someone asked how much the rent is on your little box.
Excuse me?
Still at the house.
On his little house,
Over
his little
here?
cubby house. They want
Oh
to
yeah,
know
what
how
do you
much the
charge
rent
rent
is.
for that? Yeah, what's the rent per month?
What are you talking about? That one over there. This is about $20 a month.
Does it come with furnishings and electricity
And utilities?
Yeah, utilities. Yeah.
It goes with a water heater, but you can see it. It's not covered up. Anyway,
Dude, Carlos is going overboard with the experiments. Look at that.
I knew I had that
Yeah.
video somewhere.
Why didn't you
just-
use the bucket as Mount Everest?
Yeah.
No, Terry, I'm telling you, he has a very nice looking mountain inside. Like he's building, he has some project and he won't use that mountain.
No, we got
Why?
Jeff on the
What's so
mountain.
special about it?
It looks like a mountain. It's not just pieces of styrofoam all broken up and thrown on the concrete.
Oh, like on that movie Close Encounters, where they build a mountain out of potato.
Yeah, he didn't use potato.
Yeah.
Hey, Carlos, can you please pick up your camera? It's really creepy watching your feet walk around everywhere.
It's a creeper.
At least do tap dancing or something.
At least he's neat. He's picking up after himself.
Yeah, or put your phone down and go tap dance. You know, one.
You missed a bit of foam over there. I can still see a couple of bits.
Yeah, but that scene of his feet walking away is normally like once the feet disappear, you hear someone scream.
I want to see perspective. There it is. Perspective. Right there. Perspective. I
Get
saw
the
it.
broom out and sweep the cement now, Carlos.
That was perspective right there.
What?
Nathan Oakley wins.
You got to clean up the mess there. I can still see some mess on the cement.
Ooh.
Hey, flat horizon.
Nathan Oakley
Look at
couldn't
that.
win a fight
It
with a
looks
cat.
flat. It looks flat. Look at that. It looks flat.
Yeah, but
And
is
cur-
it flat
and-
or
and
flat?
curved a
or
little
level?
bit. It looks a little bit curved. Sorry, Sean. Yeah, you're right. It does curve.
I wonder if it's level.
Why is
Yeah,
everything in
thanks-
your house
thanks,
pink?
Island.
So there you go. Look, there he is.
Here
He's cleaning
comes
up
God.
his
It
mess.
is pink.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Here comes
Yeah.
God. Yeah, here comes God sweeping up.
They're sweeping
And,
up the mess.
and right
yeah.
now, your neighbors are calling the insane asylum.
God
Come and
damn
get
it,
this
you
guy,
are
he's
a
crazy.
roboting mother effer.
Yes, you were roboting a little bit there, Chills.
Yeah, walk a
wasn't
bit to
Shields,
the
it
left.
was
The
Maxwell.
satellite might have moved.
No, that wasn't me. That was someone else.
Yeah, it was Maxwell.
well, that
Sorry,
concludes the
Cat.
flat Earth experiment. Thank you for watching.
Well, you've already debunked Flat Earth, Carlos.
Flat Earth
Thank you.
cleanup.
Flat Earth
Gee
cleanup.
whiz, Carlos. Thank you for the tour of your whole yard. That was pretty nice.
That was
Well, I was only half of it.
that was a recreation of how the dinosaurs got wiped out.
Dustpan.
That last vision of you going through the door was the last step. Okay.
All right.
Forget it.
Y'all want to get serious or not? I mean, let's go for it.
We're
Yeah, that was
being
about
serious.
four
Who are you?
That was like 4
We're
beers
being
ago.
serious.
What? Hold on. There's like 5 people. Say one at a time. Y'all want to get serious or not? Go for it.
Hey Carlos, hang on. Hey Carlos, your Carlos Pena one. Is that the main your one you want to promote the most?
Carlos
Or?
Pagan is the flat Earth one. Yeah, Carlos Pagan's flat Earth. Mr. Gadget is more mainstream DIYs and experiments.
Yeah, I want to make sure I get that one too, just at least so I have it, or I'm sub to it. Well, I can't get to it from here. Okay. I'll figure it out.
Could you link his channel in the chat, Carlos? Sean?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now. That's actually what I was doing. I got to get my stream bot to.
All right, Sean. Here's the mountain. I'm showing my
What's the mountain? What's the mountain called?
This is Mount Rainier.
Mount Curvature.
This would be
Mount
Rainier.
Curvature. It's Mount Curvature.
So I'm working on the observation here where you got the Mount Rainier and you have the clouds. The cloud.
Here is Carlos's channel, and Carlos, if you put apostrophe Carlos P, your link will pop up in the chat now.
Okay. I'm showing the mountain, Sean.
And I'm not sure who asked about the link, but it's in side chat now. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Hey, perfect. And then you're gonna move it in towards the other side, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna put the camera angle from here. So you can see this would be the cloud ceiling here, and of course that would be the mountain. And trying to recreate the picture of Mount Rainier.
The issue here's the thing. See where your mountain is on the far side of that?
Yeah.
That would be what Chris was showing, but that's at the beta rating. You know, the reflection rating of whatever it's bouncing off of. I would move your mountain.
No, I'm not done. This is what I would do.
One of our wannabe flat earthers reckons if the ground was green, like grass, it'd reflect a green light on the mountains, and if it was water, it would be blue light.
Carlos, the reason you're not getting the shadow like you want to, or right away, is because your cloud deck is even with the mountain. Back the mountain off.
Yeah.
There it is. There it was. You just got it.
Hello.
No, the other way. Other way. Go back. Go away.
And he's taking his light and physically putting it down, not further away. Right? Just walk away, Carlos. Walk away.
No. Aaron. He's modeling what happens on our model, not on the flat Earth model with this.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean the non-existent flat Earth model?
Shut up.
The one that no one can agree on.
So on my experiment, you're gonna have both angles. The angle from me, a third-person view of the experiment, and of course you're gonna have this point of view here.
What happens if you put
both?
What happens if you put the mountain in the middle of your under your clouds?
You still get it. It's just,
I like how the post.
Here, look. You still can get
I like how one of the posters is already shadowing the mountain, shadowing under the cloud.
I like how we can prove by putting the light under, his experiment there.
That's what the sun does.
What if he just walks away though? What if he just holds it like right at a certain distance and walks away? What would
It
happen?
wouldn't go up.
Yeah,
If he had a strong enough light. I know his little flashlight there ain't gonna fucking do it.
Carlos,
but,
put the light about waist high and just walk backwards from the mountain.
Hang on.
He's going to he's got to walk between the railing on the veranda there to do that.
You go, Sean. There's some green.
And don't trip over your balls.
Why couldn't Chris Berry do a test like
do
this?
it for me, Carlos. Do it for me. Come on.
Sean, you see the green?
Yes.
Yeah, that's grass. That's grass green.
Oh, see, it's fake. He's got green screen. See?
If you have different colors, you should do multiple colors so you can show Chris how the
so now, just
changes.
walk backwards. Whatever you do, just walk backwards. Whatever you're doing, Carlos, it's good.
Hang on. We're on the observing side right now. You gotta wait for him to get to the other side.
Oh, that's right.
If you want a bright enough light, you could just have the actual sunrise below in the distance.
He's got a problem with his light from the observer angle.
The crazy
So
part
he's got
is
a shadow
that,
casting.
I actually just got done. I was over. Where the hell was I? I was over at a spot smoking with a friend, and I took some pictures. I'm getting it right now, but I got some pictures of the sunset with the sun or the underside of the clouds being lit, and I try to take 2-3 minutes apart, and you can see how the sun is low it's lower than the clouds, and that's how it works. I think it's gonna be a bad week for Chris.
Dude, Sean, you're fucking awesome. How come Carlos won't do the walk away?
Because he's setting it up right now.
I'm working on it, buddy.
Why are you
Okay,
so
thank you,
patient?
Carlos.
Aaron,
Thank you, thank
just
you, thank you.
patience with experiments, buddy.
Yes,
So you
sir.
guys, you
Yes.
guys,
Yeah,
you guys see the door, the patio
on the
door over
yeah.
there.
On a side note, Carlos,
No, no, no. I don't
exclamation
want
mark.
orthogonal. I don't want orthogonal.
Aaron, shut up. Carlos, apostrophe Carlos P. We'll put your link in the chat now.
Okay.
It works.
Are we ready? So this will be with the light parallel to the clouds, okay?
Yep.
I don't know about this one, but
Yeah.
let's just see what he does.
You see how the sun didn't change its elevation and
No,
how
no, no.
it didn't
I
create
said
a
walk
shadow?
away, walk away, walk
He did.
away.
He is walked away. He's way back there.
Yeah, he's walking away. I'm walking away.
How come I can't? Hold on. Why did he all of a sudden change me to the orthogonal view so I can't see
and
what he's doing?
Orthogonal.
We can see. Just look for the.
What? You can't see him walking away in the background?
No.
Hello, see the little light?
And the best part of this is,
I mean, unless we're not on the same camera.
Hang
I
on.
mean,
The
I'm
best
looking
part
at
is-
his camera.
See the light? See the light?
that he has that green sheet, and
Oh.
it also
Oh,
shows that the reflection is not what does it.
Okay. Hold on. I didn't know he's going. Okay.
You want me to do it again?
Yes, one more time, Carlos.
All right,
Thank
here
you
we go.
very much. Yeah, thank you. I thought you were moving to the left, not away from me. Yeah, I'm a,
It's light
Look
parallel to the clouds.
there we go. There we go.
God, that's awesome, isn't it?
It is. Look at that shadow.
No.
What
Shadow.
shadow? I don't
Right
see no
there.
shadow.
Yes, there is.
You better
You're
wipe
on
the shit out of
drugs.
your eyes.
Don't say bad things. Why do you say bad things? Whoa! What was that refraction I saw? Whoa, Carlos, go back
Refraction?
down.
What
Go
refraction?
back down. Go back down. Slow. Yep, right there. You see?
Dude,
You
look
guys
at all
see
that
dot?
parallax.
Hold on.
Oh my God, I've never seen so much
Up a little
parallax
bit,
in my
Carlos.
life.
Right there. What is that? What is that?
It's called
Looks
light.
looks like lens flare to me.
Yeah, I don't care what it
Yeah, that's
says
a
to
lens
you.
flare.
That's a solar flare.
That's not refraction.
Hello, motherfuckers. He's got a flashlight. Okay. Imagine a light source. You know that you don't know what it is, and it fucking beams on you and burns
See,
you.
look, there's
Not
lens
knowing-
flare still. Look at that. See, look, lens flare.
Look at the lens flare.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, he's got a light. You know, a flashlight.
Hey, you just discovered what stars are, Aaron.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. He's got a flashlight. Smart guy. He's got a flashlight. Smart guy.
Well, no shit. He's not carrying around a fucking torch.
Okay, so his example obviously cannot relate to real life. Can it or can it not?
Yes.
Enough, basically.
It's
you need to
powerful enough compared to what Crashes and Chills would say was, ooh, the sun. You know, that's
need a
the
Okay,
most
yeah.
powerful light.
Aaron is definitely 7 beers deep right now.
Oh, come on. Only 5.
Now he's just triggered.
What I want to say, though, is you guys is, can we compare a backyard
Look at that.
demonstration?
Look at that.
Oh
Can
my
we
God.
compare a backyard demonstration
Yes.
to a solar
Yes.
system representation? right?
Yes.
Yes, we can. We can compare a backyard demonstration to a solar system representation.
Yes.
Oh boy.
It's called modeling.
What kind of solar system?
Go. Here we go.
It depends on what kind of solar system.
The one in your model, yeah. The one that's filled with hydrogen, helium, blowing up in a ball that we float around because
Aaron.
gas attracts rock, apparently.
What?
Aaron, I'm going to ask you something simple. As the light went below the horizon, did the shadow not appear above the object?
In Carlos
It didn't go below the horizon. It went below the flat plane.
In Carlos. In
Not
Carlos.
helping.
Hello.
Hello.
In Carlos demonstration. No.
Hello.
What?
Hello.
I was asked the question. My name's Aaron. And I was asked the question, so I answered.
And you just said no. You did not witness the shadow going above the
in
object.
Carlos demonstration, no. Yeah, absolutely.
You did not see the shadow on the objects above. You didn't
which
see it.
one though? Hold on.
So
Whoever's
it's the last
asking.
part of the experiment where he put the light below the horizon and the shadow was above it. Did you see it?
Listen, he did a bunch, and I'll say no to every answer, every question. No, I did not see what your point is. What's your point?
He's too drunk.
Yeah.
Listen, folks. No, I did not see the shadow.
No, we're not going to listen. Because if you ain't going to listen to anything we say, why should we return the fucking favor?
Okay, well then I'll say yes. I saw the shadow. So then what? Okay, yes.
I'm still going to say no.
I saw it. I saw the
No,
shadow.
I'm not going to accept your fallacious reasoning there because you saw what everybody else saw in the video and then you denied it.
Listen, sir. The first one he did was very good, right? But then when I asked him, when I asked him to do the walk away one, it did not show what I wanted it to show. It did not.
Is he conceding?
Yeah,
That's right.
hashtag walk away, flat Earth.
It didn't show what I wanted it to show, so I'm just going to deny it.
Well, the worst part is
I'm
he's not even
denying it. I'm letting you know that.
Here's the worst part.
Guys,
he's not even a flat earther.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. I'm not even. I'm just saying. I don't. I'm just telling you that it didn't show what I wanted it to show. So this guy starts asking me questions about which experiment. Remember, there were two of them.
Were you recording that, Carlos? What you just did?
I was
recording it. I'm actually going to make a video with a very nicely detailed explanation of all that and other different scenarios. You have to realize the cloud ceiling can go from 6,000 feet to 10,000 feet. So there are times where peak of Mount Rainier actually sticks out. And P-Brain, according to P-Brain, the shadow that we see is actually the peak of Mount Rainier actually casting a shadow over the cloud, which with the pictures of the cloud ceiling over the mountain totally debunk that. But anyways, I'm gonna do multiple scenarios and with both models and some other technical stuff that I'm gonna explain about. The angle of reflection is equal to the angle of incidence. So you have to be below the cloud ceiling in order to be able to bounce light from it. Okay.
Well, don't dumb it down too much.
Well, Carlos, I have it, Terry. I have what he just did recorded, but at best, I may show it like on tomorrow's stream if it becomes a topic of point. But I'm not gonna upload it or anything like that, especially until Carlos is done because I wanted to
keep
explain
it
the whole
in
thing.
your arsenal, until I make a better version. Hopefully by middle of this week I'll be able to have that out. I was gonna film it today, but I'm happy I made the model. I got to do some work tomorrow, and probably Tuesday night I might actually film the video.
Yeah,
and
and
upload it.
yeah, just let me know, and then I'll let everyone know what's going on. They get that upload out. I'll share the hell out of it.
And Thor, let me see. I'm gonna test your bot here.
Yeah, it's explanation mark Carlos P.
Apostrophe or exclamation?
Exclamation.
Carlos apostrophe.
Just Carlos P. Like this, man.
Oh shoot.
No space.
Exclamation Carlos P.
No, yeah, there you go. Yep. And I gotta I'll set up my Discord bot. So then he'll announce it in one of my servers.
I'm only learning how to use Windows 10, and I took a screenshot of the cloud.
I better subscribe to Mr. Gadget.
Do what?
Said better subscribe to Mr. Gadget.
Yeah, I got some cool stuff on there too.
Yeah, I need that link because I couldn't find it on your page.
Yeah, sure thing. Hang on, I'm gonna post it here. Go,
Mr. Gadget.
Go, Globe Smacker.
Can I just search it and it'll be?
Yeah, you can search Mr. Gadget. The Clatney plate. You'll find it then. I don't know. You know how to
Can I? Is it okay if I screen share that last shot that we've seen of the cloud?
Oh yeah.
Allowed to do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, give me a sec. I got your link right here. I'll put that in here so you have it. There, yeah, that one I just put in. Yeah, that's Mr. Gadget.
Redirecting.
I've got too many windows open.
Oh, you high IQing.
I was just about to say that.
I used to be monetized on that channel until they changed the rules to having 1,000 subs.
Yeah.
So actually, I made up to $70, and then they took away the monetization. So if I reach 1,000 on this channel again, I'll be able to start making money because I get at least over 200 or so views a day on my other videos. So,
wow.
So that's pretty good. I mean, it adds up. I mean, if I would have been making money this last year, I would have had at least a few $100. But
not getting your shield checks at the right time.
Which called it's actually it is stupid easy money if you really think about it. When you did how YouTube pays off on the monetization, I can't even figure it out. They don't give you any actual numbers. It's just I hope I'm getting something.
Yeah, here's some money.
Yeah.
Shut up.
They take a lot. Like I said, I'm trying to figure out the like a PayPal widget so I can take off the super chat on my chat, because why the hell, like, I'd rather no one sub to me or no one super chat, because YouTube takes a huge fucking chunk of it.
Yeah, it's like 60%.
Yeah, they're fucking high.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I have a question.
You want the answer before you ask the question?
Well, Carlos, can you?
Here's your answer. 42.
Yeah, here. I'll shut it. Ready? Are you ready to shut it?
33.
Ready? Here we go.
Shut your mouth.
Okay.
Did that come through?
Carlos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carlos, 33 apparently. The replication you're doing there in your backyard there, can you show the picture that you're trying to replicate?
I got it. It's right here.
Oh.
I can get it.
Okay, all right.
I'll make it easier for you.
I had one too ready. I could have done it too. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Which one? Where?
You don't have PayPal, Sean?
Where do I click on?
No, I do. But when people use the super chat, like the super chat's right there, and a lot of people use the super chat mainly because they're able to say something and know that it's going to be said. Where when you do it with PayPal, there's no there's no say something and write a sentence, or so if I had an alert, then there's something like a Streamlab bot will allow you to do that.
Right.
I just got to set it up.
Yeah, actually, Unirock uses PayPal for that function.
Okay, I'll try. I've never heard of that one. What is it? Here you go. Here's
he's a commentator channel. So he'll find something stupid, and then find all the other things that are stupid that along the same line, and then commentate on the entirety of it.
What do you mean stupid? What do you mean stupid?
Like drinking bleach.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty stupid. So that's a great
Okay,
channel.
thank you. Something we agree on.
That's a great channel to watch, everybody. We should just watch the channel that says, hey, it's stupid to drink bleach. Hell yeah.
That's,
right?
It's actually, you shouldn't have to, but we have to because.
Okay, so what else?
People sitting out
What
there
else
saying
is
that.
stupid? What else is stupid?
Drinking a lot of beer on a Sunday night.
I just made $800 today. Fuck you.
That's cute.
Oh, you got a different one that I've got.
Which one's better?
Yeah, that one's actually actually touching the cloud ceiling. This one that has a little more space in between the clouds and the mountain.
I don't think there's as much space as you think. I think it's just the angle. And
well, I know, but you know, you dealing with flat earthers. Here, let me tell you what I'm talking about. How about that? How about that, Sean?
You know, Bob's in the chat. You could ask him for the actual picture.
I got it. I got this.
That was the actual picture.
No.
Maybe it's not?
No.
No.
Oh my God, Sean. We said no.
I like this one.
Uh-oh, Militant Manny's in the chat. That's
Militant Manning.
He used to be all quiet and reserved, and then out of nowhere, he just hates all Globers. Like, death to them all.
Oh, yeah, that's the ones I had. Similar to those.
Oh, did I stop the Kenny?
What? Yeah, I don't see.
There you go. Here we go. You ready for this? All right.
I can't get the window to show up.
I'm about to pin it up right now.
There we go.
Yeah, that's the ones I've been pinching ones from. Same ones.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one Carlos is representing.
That's almost a perfect representation.
Almost. It is a perfect representation.
Okay, it's perfect.
Oh, the mountain's a bit fatter in that one.
Now,
well,
here's the thing. Carlos, you're gonna get into it with.
Can you show me the picture? Can you show me the picture that you are representing your example?
Jesus Christ! Really?
It's right there.
Can you move like that? Holy moly!
Hey, Aaron, open your eyes.
Hold on.
Now,
okay.
The big thing is
actually
I
on
can show it.
YouTube.
Well, hang on. I want to, the main thing, because Carlos, you know, Chris is gonna have something to say, right? The difference is in his images. Oh, I'm gonna tell you right now. Look, see how pronounced the shadow is, because it's casting from the object. He's gonna want to tell you that that's the reflection. But the difference is that the shadow. See how detailed the shadow is. Your shadow in what you did in the backyard is just as detailed. I'll show you what his looks like right now because I have screenshots of it.
Oh yeah, I'm actually gonna put a white foam board and show what it looks like when you have a diffused light.
Okay. Carlos,
what?
Carlos, real quick, it's Aaron. Yeah,
we know.
Hey, can you show me where's the light source in that?
Who is that guy?
Can you tell me?
Really just ask that.
Where's the light source in
below
that
the cloud, under the horizon?
What horizon? I see clouds all the way down to the horizon.
Hey,
Where's the light source?
we saw you set that one up, Aaron. It wasn't very good setup. Try again.
Where's the light source, Carlos?
Hey.
I see clouds.
Obviously, it's behind the
Hang on,
fucking mountain,
I
just like
see
his
clouds
representation.
all the way down to the horizon.
Great question, Aaron. What is the light source of that shadow? Please explain to me.
Say again.
Shadow underneath.
What is the light source for that shadow?
So here's the raw video that
Well, we don't know. That's.
Well, then you need to go back.
Well, obviously, Carlos, it's some guy with a flashlight, just like you were doing the.
That's why you do an experiment to see if you can replicate
Where's
the
the light
image.
source? You say it's a
Carlos, how dare you? Were you standing
mountain.
behind that mountain with the flashlight?
Carlos, if you listen to me, listen. Carlos,
Don't
we
listen.
say you and me both say it's an Earth falling around a ball.
Jesus
with,
Christ.
with a light source further away.
There we go.
And it does project up, right? That's the point. But I don't see the light source there, but yet I do see clouds in the way of every freaking light source.
Oh my goodness.
All
Well,
right,
first
you
of
guys
all,
ready for this wonderful?
If that statement, Aaron, if what you said was any dumber, you'd have to water it twice a week.
And it's obviously daylight because behind the clouds is not dark like nighttime.
There's no light source there, so whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, how do you get a shadow?
Yeah. Okay.
You tell me. There's no light source.
So check this out. So these are Chris's observations.
I remember these.
And he was trying to say that it's the same as the Mount Rainier picture that I showed you.
Is that a plant? He had a plant as a
No,
mountain?
he used a paint stick and tape. Now it gets worse, Carlos. I'm going to show you his first test. The first test, he decided that somehow the mountain actually hung from the clouds. He's looking up
hanging
right
mountain.
now. He's literally looking up at it.
To be fair, I mean the orientation is irrelevant as long as the light is where it needs to be. But yeah.
Well, that's the problem. We don't know where his light source is, and you see how predominant that shadow is compared to the other ones.
Oh yeah, well it's yeah.
That's a dishonest test. That's why he did it 3 times. Because we kept egging saying, "Where's your light source? Where's your light source?" It took him 3 times to show the light source, and by that point, he said it had nothing to do with a lower sun on a flat Earth or globe. It had only to do with albedo and a shadow. Period. Not the details shown. That's what he was saying before. To BS.
The problem with the initial statement from Sean Hawkins was that you can't have a shadow under the clouds unless with the sun over the clouds. Now we were referring to a very prominent shadow from the light source.
Yes.
Now, yeah, you can cause the light to bounce off of the ground and then back up into another.
Okay, that'd be different. Yep.
Yeah, but you're gonna have omnidirectional light, diffuse light, and you're gonna end up with a not very defined, pronounced shadow, and you're gonna end up with multiple shadows because you have multiple light sources.
Refracted light.
Now that is not what we see when we look at the pictures of Mount Rainier. In the experiment, we see a very sharp shadow from one light source.
Carlos, how do you know? Where's the light source?
Because I did an experiment just about 20 minutes ago.
Your experiment in your backyard does not represent what I believe.
At this point,
you lost your mind.
Flat earthers. So you go and do your experiment and come back and talk to me.
No, sir. I respect your what.
No, actually, you don't respect anything.
Okay, but his experiment does not respect It does not respect the globe model.
really just
It does
keep
not
going.
respect the globe model. No, it doesn't.
What I see is not what I wanted to see, so therefore it does not exist.
Listen, if I do an experiment in my backyard and it shows it's a flat Earth, you all should fucking agree with that, right?
Yeah,
Right?
show one.
Because
Show one.
I'm in my backyard and I show it's flat, right?
No.
Just like I asked
Gee
you.
whiz, you
Just
guys.
like I asked you
What I'm
before.
telling Carlos is, hey, thank you for fucking, doing the experiment. However, and showing the picture that I asked for. But what I asked for was where's the light source? That's it. So there's no disrespect to Carlos or his
No what?
efforts
No
or
what?
anything.
No what?
Okay?
There's
You
no
guys
what?
are the ones that are disrespecting. Just stop it. Just stop it right now.
Is it me or did he not say disrespect that first time?
My name is Jeff.
Yeah, you heard it right there, Sean. You heard it right.
Okay, just check.
You should stop disrespecting yourself, Aaron.
Respect yourself. Respect yourself.
At least my name's not Shills.
Oh no! Oh, you cut me deeply.
Hey, Unpaid Shills, he doesn't
I'm
know
not
what my
worried about
name is on Discord.
I know. Of course, none of you are. That's right. That's why I put my true name out there. That's right.
So do I.
None of you fags do. That's right.
Hey,
Talk about dumbass. My name is in my
I dare
description.
you.
And it's real. My name is Sean. What are you talking about?
Actually, Sean T. Well, most of it, not all.
Not to
of
mention
it, Sean T.
Carlos.
But apparently you're a fag, Sean.
Excuse me.
No.
I
Just whoever's
smoke
speaking.
I smoke cigarettes. I don't think I'm one. If I was gonna be something like that, I'd much rather be like a
we should
tiger.
smoke them, Carl. Sean J. We should smoke your audience because they're fags.
What the hell is wrong with? Why did I even ask? I asked a dumb question. I don't need to ask what's wrong with you. I know. There's no way around it.
Because I asked Carlos a simple question. He gave me a straight answer, and I got bombarded by your audience. Right?
My audience? What the hell are you
and
talking
Carlos
about?
is a good guy. Carlos is a good guy. He actually.
Okay, put your hand up if you bombarded him with anything.
Yes, I did.
Aaron, next time that happens,
Does laughing at him?
No.
Go ahead, Sean.
Next time you feel bombarded, Aaron, blink twice and I'll help you.
And then
me and you are on the same page. Don't worry about it.
And I don't think laughing at you can be considered as bombarding you with anything, except laughter, maybe.
All right, no worries. So, what question do you have?
What's the type of laughter? You can
what question do you have then,
types of laughter.
Mr. Shills, Mr. Trolls? What up?
On page shield.
Oh, I've got a question. What do you get when you get 10 flat earthers together? You get 15 different excuses for evidence.
Wow.
That was badass. Okay.
That was almost funny.
Hey, what's up, Montreal?
Hey, Montreal, I got a question for you.
Dang, I was gonna ask him something.
Go ahead, Maxwell.
What do you think about your prime minister?
Oh man,
nice.
please don't. It's embarrassing. I'll just say that it's embarrassing.
Why would he?
Why?
I don't know anything about it. You can explain.
Well, here's a better question. What do you think about the political correctness traps that he's part of setting up?
Montreal,
and then he gets caught. And then he gets caught in his own trap. And then he gets caught in his own trap by this BS political correctness crap.
Montreal, it's because they love their own political slavery that they're going to ask you what you feel about your political slavery. You know, it's a reverse dichotomy. How they're going to, because they're trapped in their system, you don't have to be. Montreal. You don't have
Reverse dichotomy.
Absolutely.
Hey, Sap Montreal.
What's up, Carlos?
Did you see my observation?
Yes, I did.
Cool. What you think?
I really don't know much on this subject. I can't really comment. Is the claim that the shadow cannot pass above the clouds? Is that the claim?
The claim is that you can have a shadow from the sun under the cloud and the flat Earth, since the sun orbits over the clouds parallel in the flat Earth model, and that's not what we see. We actually see the mountain casting shadows under the clouds right before sunset and at sunrise.
Okay, this is a new one to me.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm gonna reserve judgment on this one until I study it more.
I applaud.
I must say, at least Montreal's
I applaud
honest.
your honesty. One round of applause for Montreal.
Yay! I can't clap right now. I'm eating.
You're eating, sure.
Pizza.
Right now, I have pineapple.
No pineapple.
With no pineapple.
No pineapple.
Don't start
Bon
like
appetit.
No, meat and cheese.
Do not summon the Crashes RC. He's gonna come in here and rip you a new one.
Oh yeah, he's gonna pull in with the gyro car and kick your ass.
Yeah, it's a pineapple-powered gyro car.
Well, fellas, I'm gonna go get some rest, so tomorrow I can do some more flat Earth debunking.
Awesome.
Yep, yep.
Hey, Carlos, thank you. I appreciate the demonstration earlier.
Oh, there's Brian, and I did use the nice mountain just for you, Sean. But anyway.
Oh damn! I came in on the wrong account. I have to start getting my accounts back in order. I can't use my Younger Creation account on here.
Good, good. Now me and Montreal can destroy the.
No, you can't destroy nothing but your pancreas and liver.
Carlos.
You're destroying your liver. Stop.
Go to sleep, Carlos.
Well, drink
I
some water.
was actually coming on here to say that if it is a flat Earth that's shaped very pizza-esque, thanks to the proliferation of pigs and pineapples, the entire Earth would be a Hawaiian pizza.
It wasn't what Carlos. let's just get, come on.
Wow. Anyway.
But
you guys always talk about pineapple pizza. You know who invented it? You guys know who invented it?
An asshole.
Canadian from Greece, right?
Mark Sargent.
I think it was a Canadian from Greece.
No, I think it was Al Gore.
No, it was a Greek American. You were close.
Oh.
He just passed away a couple of years ago.
Ah, for some reason I thought he made it in Toronto.
Good pizza. Good pizza.
I think it's sacrilege to put pineapple on a pizza, but
I think it's sacrilege that you're here. I'm starting to sound like Aaron. Oh my god!
Go and rest your brain, Carlos.
I got a question for Crashes RC.
What?
I respect your hobby, but I think playing with little remote control cars is for kids. That's all I have to say.
Asshole.
Hey,
Makes me like
that's not fair.
What?
That's not fair.
I'm joking. Hey, like about an hour ago, I was showing my collection of R2D2s. So I didn't say anything.
I know, Carlos. No worries.
Shut up! Go to bed.
I get down there and go walk race with you this winter, Carlos.
Do what? A quad race?
So I get down there and go whoop racing with you this year sometime.
Dude, just hit me up with you in Birmingham or Tennessee, whatever. I'll find you. So we can have some Hawaiian pizza. Woo! On me. Have a good night. Stay flat or stay around, whichever gender you are. I mean, whichever side you're on.
Flat Earth is agenda.
Don't say that shit too loud. People will start putting it on there.
Well, they put everything else on there, don't they? They're
non-binary.
They're shill payers.
Model, so they're non-binary. Anyway,
Carlos's goodbye manages to offend everybody on the internet in one fell swoop.
Like no other.
No.
Where's Logic when you need him so he can do the Potter was you can't say that, Logic. The YouTube heroes will flag this for hate speech.
Montreal, are you there?
I'm here.
Who is
Yeah,
that?
I didn't get away.
What's on your mind?
Sorry.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind this Sunday night?
All right,
Who's
before I leave,
asking Montreal a question? Who is that?
before I leave, I'm gonna say the N word, neutral buoyancy. There you go.
No, the N word's actually NASA.
You're finally getting it, Carlos. You're finally getting it.
Absolutely.
Neutral buoyancy was I got questions on here or something?
It was.
Carlos said the NB word, and he's realizing that's what it is.
What the hell are you talking about?
He knows.
Don't hurt yourself, please, Aaron. No, I'm here.
Have you seen the Bob videos? Have you seen them?
I'm not. No spoilers. I don't want anyone to tell me what's happened yet.
It's funny
They're
how
awesome
Aaron asked
theories.
this. Sorry, Aaron asked this about an hour ago, and Montreal said no.
Yeah. That's fine.
Bob,
Don't worry, he'll ask about 6 more times.
That's
You
cool.
might
Have
have watched
you
it in
seen
between.
them? Have you
You're gonna
seen them? Don't worry about what I've done. Have you seen them?
Bob who?
Bob the science guy.
Exactly. My point. Bob who? Who the fuck is Bob?
Hell yeah.
What
He's
about
some
Bob?
guy. He's some guy.
This midget,
Hey Terry, do you remember Bob Down?
Montreal, what do you want to talk about?
Whatever you guys want to talk about. You know what, Aaron? I was thinking. I haven't heard you're a flatty. You're a roundy. What's your view?
He's an Elkie.
I'm the same as
He's a donkey.
And a pole.
I'm the same as you. Just we really don't know, right, Montreal? We really don't know, but I would say it's flat.
Hey
You know,
guys,
if I had to
just let
make
him and
a call-
Montreal go. Montreal will be on our side very soon.
No kidding.
Some guy in the chat wants to know, did we say his name?
Is it the
Yes,
plane
Bob.
crew?
Bob the Science Man.
Oh, Dr.
No.
Bob.
It's
Guy,
Knob.
person?
It's actually Knob, not Bob. It's Knob. Knob the science.
Why would
science
you be
boy.
disrespectful, Aaron?
Because that's how we do.
I mean, you're drunk. You should probably stop. I'm just trying to help you.
Oh, jeez. Here we go. Here we go.
I'm sorry, Aaron. I care.
About Bob? You care
No, about my
that?
stream.
Anyway,
survive.
Montreal. Yes. You and me really don't know. I've heard you talk before. I'm the same as you. But if you take what we do know, like what we can see, what we tested, what's been actually presented to us, I gotta lean. I'm leaning, and I'm actually put an arm up for flat Earth.
Alcohol will do that to you.
Aaron, quick question. You ever feel like you should cut back on your drinking?
Yeah, it sounded like he was leaning, about to fall over.
You ever think you should cut back on your thinking? Eh?
Do you ever feel
Great,
do you ever
great
feel
comeback,
annoyed when people
Aaron.
ask you about
Great comeback.
That was
Oh,
awesome,
you
wasn't it?
ever feel guilty about it?
Guilty about what?
The amount you drink, because it seems to be excessive at times.
At times.
Dude.
Wow. All the time?
As much money as I make, I can drink as much as I want. Yeah, I'm not worried.
Is that how that works?
Please tell me you're not getting up in the morning and having one as well.
I don't have to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning.
Well, whenever you get up,
No,
please
Brian.
don't.
Brian, he definitely seems like the don't drink all day, gets fucking hammered at night.
because I worked all day, right? And I make $1,000 a day, you know.
You know, people that brag about it usually end up losing it and or don't make that much.
And have tiny winkies.
Sean, you know I do dirt work, right? But I'm a sole independent contractor, right? And you know how much money is in dirt work, okay? How much money does it take to move 1 yard of dirt, right? What do you bid on that? Yes, it's like
Depends on the dirt.
$100.
I could do it for free.
I know. So could a bunch of Mexicans. That's right. But anyways, I'd like to
Wow,
get
a
back
hint of
to
racism is
besides
alcoholism.
besides my life.
Wait
you
a
know,
minute.
I just bought my.
You're from El Salvador. Are you from? Are you El Salvadorian or Costa Rican? I can't remember.
I just bought my wife a
Aran.
$17,000 car.
Aran, where are you from, Aran?
Nebraska.
Aran.
Yeah. Crashes. Where are you from, Crashes?
Are you talking to retard?
Where's AA run at?
Where are you from, Crashes?
Aran.
Anyway,
you from Iran?
I would rather, instead of speaking to you, I'd rather speak to Montreal. What does he want to talk about? Because he always brings up good points that you guys cannot fucking even answer.
I like how you think that you can play that game and that we're gonna get mad at Montreal because you choose to hang on to it tonight.
Right, so you guys pick on me as soon as he shows up. As soon as Montreal shows up, you pick on me. You guys are fucking losers. Look at you.
Montreal,
You're
how
running
do you
away.
We were
feel?
picking on you
Running
long before he
away.
got here.
You're running away.
Montreal, how do you feel that you are being forced to create a narrative?
I'm entertained. I'm laughing. I don't feel I'm forced to do anything.
No, but Aaron is trying to force you to make us conflict with you.
Yeah, I know what he's trying to do. It's
standard diversion tactic.
It doesn't bother me, to be honest with you. It's the first time I spoke with Aaron, so I'm getting to know him.
Oh, we could have told you about him. Aaron, stop drinking. I hear you opening it.
Lawyer with a classic quote in the chat. Are you talking to retards?
Why Where's
Alan?
Why would you guys care if my weekend was Monday, Tuesday versus your weekend, Saturday, Sunday? Why would you care?
You don't know my weekend.
I never know what days my weekend are.
So then why are you guys judging somebody?
No, they're just trying to help you.
No,
Life
we're
isn't
definitely
in a
judging.
bottle. There's more to
We're actually
reality
showing what
than a bottle of alcohol.
Yeah, it's actually a concern.
Okay, but you guys have you're not on my concern list. Like you have no concern.
Yeah, but Aaron,
right?
Aaron, because someone cares about you doesn't mean they care if you care about them.
Listen. We're talking about the shape of the earth, and we were talking about shadows on mountains. We were talking about that. Why all of a sudden, when Montreal comes on, y'all don't want to fucking talk about that shit? Why?
You want to talk about it, Aaron, or is that okay? You got something else you want to talk about?
We can talk about it.
It's okay, man. We're right here. You can talk to us if you want to.
Yeah,
okay,
it's all right.
let's go with it. All right, okay. So the shadow that Carlos put on his, in his backyard there is in no way a representation of what the perspective sun, earth, flat earth might do, or the globe earth, okay? It's in no way any representation of either model. and you guys sit there and be like, cheers, like, yeah, we fucking won that one, yeah, because Carlos fucking put a fucking shadow in his backyard. You got to be kidding me, right?
Anyone taking bets on if Aaron gets lost in the hangout again?
Dude, I have no idea what's happening now, dude. I'm so lost.
I was waiting for him to lose track of what he was saying.
Whatever, dude. Hey, how many revolutions does it take to get RPM on an engine piston, right?
That question was so malformed, it should have died at birth.
I know. I got you. I know. What is piston speed at a revolution of 4,000 RPM? I know. Right? I was trying to fuck with you.
The person who asked you that question is not even here.
I got a question. How many bananas does it take for the sun to rotate around the moon?
Purple.
Because aliens don't wear hats.
What about this? What about this? What about this? Okay, let's get massive serious. Massive serious. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Quit wheezing into the phone. Stop wheezing, you old bastard. Jesus. Bob the Science Guy's videos, right? Where he was testing buoyancy versus relative density and proving gravity, right? You guys see those videos?
No,
No, he wasn't proving gravity.
In the end, yes, he was.
Aaron, aren't you the one who
No, he
laughed at
was-
someone for not knowing what was going on? How are you going to be constantly trying to bring it up and you have no clue what it was about?
I watched the video. Hello.
Ask me next Thursday.
Aaron, Bob the Science Guy clearly stated we are going to see what the effects are of this experiment.
Sorry,
that was your answer.
I think you think you're barking up the wrong tree.
That was the most complete answer from that side of the phone.
She's alright. Don't worry about it.
That's what you call timing.
That was a bit rough.
Ha 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 ha.
So Bob the Science Guy's videos. Bob the Science Guy's videos showing a his demonstration of his egg and then all the explanation behind density, relativity, salt, and Archimedes principle, and all this stuff. And then he immediately moves to dropping a water bottle with bubbles being put into it while it's in free fall, proving that what the camera caught right there was proof of no relative density because the bubbles did not rise when the water bottle was dropping, right?
Go on.
Do y'all see that?
No.
Yeah. Do you know why that happens?
Yeah, it's in free fall, dude.
No. Why did the bubble not move?
It's in free fall, bruh. That's why.
That's the observation. What's the explanation?
Yeah.
Okay, what happens when the water bottle hits the ground? Which way does the bubble go?
No. You've just changed.
Yeah, you just
your
changed
experiment.
Oh my God! No, I didn't. Bob
No,
the
the
Science
experiment.
Guy. Bob the Science Guy showed a video with a water bottle dropping down.
Yeah.
Where
it had
the
nothing to
water
do with the
bottle
bottle hitting the
dropping
ground.
down, and the water bottle on the video does not move up into the top of the water bottle.
The water bottle does not move into the top of the water bottle. Okay, can you back up and try again? This time in English.
Come here. Hey, come here. Hold on, I gotta say hi to my wife. So.
Oh, poor lady.
You'll hear a slap in a minute.
Sean, this is abusive. Can we have him on here like this?
Oh, God.
Absolutely.
Has anyone actually seen Bob's video? Because I'm not watching it until Wednesday night on my live stream.
I've watched it, Terry. That's why I can argue the point.
Hey.
没事，我现在回去吃饭，我先回去跟你聊啊。
Hello,
拜拜
Aaron's wife.
He's been a bad boy. You need to spank him.
And then send me the upload.
Yeah. How do you go from? Sorry, Brian, you go.
No, I was just thinking to myself, what phrases do I know in any sort of Asian language? And I was coming up with really dry.
Well, that's probably the only word you know.
For a while, I knew how to yell "I'm sexy," but I don't know that one anymore. In Mandarin.
How do you go from a bottle in free fall to the actions of the bottle hitting the ground?
That's all right. The top of the bottle hit the top of the bottle, according to him a second ago.
Well, if you put it to a question for me for the experiment, for what's the argument, then I can, without watching the video, then I could give you an answer of what would we expect if we did did an experiment.
Well, and as far as how that bubble moved when the bottle finally hit, my answer would be chaotically.
Yeah, it would have actually separated. But the premise of showing the video was that, okay, so it showed the bottle on the top of the ladder with bubbles being blown into it, that the bubbles would go down and then come back up because of buoyancy and gravity. But as the bubbles were blown into it and then the bottle was dropped, because it negates gravity once you hit a particular speed, the bubble won't move because there's no other force acting upon it. It just sits there.
So So what is the force when the bottle is dropping and the bubbles are dropping? What is the force?
When the bottle is dropping,
it's
the
the
bubbles
acceleration
aren't
of gravity
moving.
or the buoyant force.
Would you say it's 0 g, right? 0 g.
No.
Oh, free fall. Free fall is what?
But on a technicality, there's G forces on the bottle. It's what's happening inside the bottle that is negative.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's another question. Right there on Bob's videos. Was there a container? Right? Was it containing everything? Right?
Water's not a gas.
You're scrambling, aren't you?
No,
water's not a gas,
no,
mate.
sir. I'm pinpointing. That's what
At the,
Water's not a gas.
at the current moment, the eggs I had this morning are less scrambled than you.
Well, then go to sleep. All right? Then go to sleep.
What? All right.
That was a non sequitur that not even Kyle would steal.
Let's go like this. So the bottle, and I'll get back to the gentleman that was speaking. So there was a bottle, and there was water, and there was bubbles, and go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, I'll explain it again. I'll explain it again. At the top of the ladder, bubbles were being blown into the water in the bottle. The bubbles would go down and then come back up because of buoyancy. Because the bubble is lighter than the medium surrounding it, they go up.
Which is also density. Yeah.
No.
Pretty much.
No, it's because gravity is pulling on the
No,
water.
but that's also due
Hang
to
on.
density.
You asked for an explanation. Don't
Density is not a force.
Let's be obvious, though. Let's just say both one.
How does a bubble have
obvious right now,
density?
Aaron.
Let's not be dicks. Let's just say
Then you've got to shut up.
It's too late for you.
Buoyancy.
No, I'm not going to entertain his babble.
The label you are looking for. Shit was funny. I don't care what you say.
It is funny.
His name is Robert Townsend.
His name is Robert Townsend. Wait, we're not doing that.
I just didn't know who this person is who showed up.
No, is that
It looks
Fight Club?
familiar. I just don't
Is that
remember.
a Fight Club freaking skit?
Yeah.
Uh,
When they're in the
speaker about the experiment.
the
Are you
hell?
still there? Huh?
Hey, Aaron, what stream are you on right now?
Just whatever you gave me right there. I'm on whatever you gave me.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Wanted to ask that question. So now you guys know the state in which Aaron's in.
Yeah, Sean. He didn't hear what I said when I muted myself, did he?
I guess not.
I'm surprised he's still able to tie his shoes on a regular basis.
He probably wears Velcro shoes.
Yeah, I haven't confirmed that he can't. I'm just saying.
Oh boy, you guys are funny. Here we go.
Just saying, man, you're a little intoxicated. Like fun time.
How do you know?
Because I've already at the beginning of the stream I said you had 4. You said 3.1. You said 3.14. I said 5 after that. You said no 4. I said 7. You said no 6.
Hey, Sean, that's cool. That's cool. But you don't intoxicate yourself, do you? You know, you never do that,
No,
right?
I don't drink at all.
Yeah, that's right. You don't intoxicate yourself at all.
I don't drink at all.
I didn't say that. You don't intoxicate
I
yourself
did.
at all, do you? Do
I
you,
said
Sean?
I don't drink at all.
Okay.
That's the topic at
Pick
hand.
your
It's possible
poison.
that he may
Pick your
impair
poison,
himself
Sean.
occasionally,
Pick
but
your poison,
he doesn't
right?
intoxicate himself.
I do
here's a better
exactly
one,
what
bro.
you do,
Hey,
Sean.
Aaron, here's a better
Don't
one.
worry.
Here's a better one. You ready? There is no live streams where I am incoherent. Is that better?
Hello, Sean. Where are you?
Jesus Christ.
He's there.
Reality?
Oh, no, he's back. He's back. He's back. Yeah. Now he's gone. Now he's gone. Where is he?
Check behind the house.
Okay. No.
Always make sure to
See,
look
Sean,
over there.
I don't judge you. It doesn't matter. You know, I don't judge.
I don't judge you either.
Good. Good deal. We shouldn't, because it makes for a good show.
You're in trouble. Hey, Bob, what's up, sir?
Yeah,
You
let's
gotta-
get Bob on there. I'd
Hey,
love.
it's that Bob guy.
It's that Bob guy. Who's that Bob guy?
The
make sure
knob
you,
guy.
you
Knob.
unmute yourself,
Knob.
Bob.
Knob, or Bob. Knob.
Aaron.
Aaron, this is exactly the sort of behavior that causes you to get no respect from anyone else here.
Hey, Bob
not
has
looking for
called me a little boy, so I can call him Knob all I want, right?
I wonder why.
Yeah, but it's true. Right?
And Bob, you're muted in case you weren't aware.
Yeah.
Just a second.
I hate that. It makes you do the instant what do you call it?
The auto mute or whatever it is.
Yeah.
$42.
That answers it all.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Who is this?
Hello.
Housekeeping.
What's going on?
This is Major Thompson.
I'm sorry.
Hello,
I can't
who's
do
on
that.
first?
Sorry, I can't do that, Dave.
I'm sorry, I can't do that right now.
We must construct additional pylons.
What's your guys' problem with me? I know.
You sure you want that answered?
Well, we could
If I
separate
didn't want it,
the
I
word
wouldn't have
problem and
asked
me.
it. What's your problem with me right now?
The disrespect you're showing to people trying to explain things to you.
Give an example.
I was trying to explain something, and then you just overspoke me.
Bob,
The
want to see
last
when Bob
hour and
showed
a
up,
half.
we referred to him as Knob.
The fact that you just go out of your way to insult people and act like some condescending little prig.
Maybe if I'm projecting,
Someone
that
just
means
gasped.
I'm getting it from
Mr.
somewhere,
Three-Legged
right?
Wonder.
I mean,
He's hungry.
isn't that
Hello,
kind of what you
Mr.
guys do?
Hello, buddy.
Isn't that
You're
kind of what you guys
alive.
do, though?
Yay.
You know?
Go on, go have some food.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sprinkle the give me some candy, right? That'd be nice.
Oh, this is all being recorded. I'm so happy.
You can't release this. This is awful.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mute myself.
So
I
you guys are telling me that
showed
I was doing
everyone when
bad
he got
things.
stuck in this damn thing.
Yeah,
that's true.
but
That was amusing.
How can you get stuck in?
Oh, you want to see?
How?
I'll
It's
show
impossible.
you. No, I'll show
Sean,
you.
they were telling me that I was doing bad things, and you were gonna agree
You're
with that.
not doing
You're gonna
bad
put this on
things. You're
your
just
show.
drunk. That's it.
Yeah, but
Hey, Sean.
I wasn't doing bad things, right?
No,
But they
I'm
just
entertained.
told me. I said, "What problem do you have with me?" And they said all these problems.
Okay, we'll put it this
Well,
way.
define
Aaron,
problem.
Personally, I'm enjoying this. I
Me
granted,
too.
I think I get what they're saying. We are kind of worried that your liver is going to shut down eventually.
Don't worry about it.
But
Don't worry.
overall, I'm enjoying. I'm just sitting back and listening to, as Unpaid says, a disaster of this magnitude.
Yeah, well, he can think about that. Absolutely. So, I have questions, right?
Yeah, that's all you got is questions.
See,
Yeah,
you
but
remind
you
me a lot
can't-
of a gentleman earlier today who had questions.
Yeah. But you can't answer them, Chills. That's the thing.
No, you won't
Damn,
accept
so
the
he's
answer.
psychic and he knows what you were going to say.
We've already gone over this, Aaron, and I answered them, and pretty much everybody that was in the YouTube audience agreed that I smacked you around like a $2 whore.
Sorry, Chills. That was in your YouTube audience. I'm so happy that you got patted on the booty. Like you feel good
You
about
have a
that.
YouTube
That was
audience,
nice.
Aaron?
Aaron, you could just ask the questions and we could get around all.
It was your show, Sean. Actually,
Aaron, you want to ask some questions instead of just strutting?
let's go.
Ask him the Apple question.
Let's go. Answer questions. Here we go. I'll ask or answer, whatever you want.
Can you put a fist through an apple?
Of course.
How?
With my fist through an apple. I've done it.
Can you put your fist in your mouth? I don't think you can.
He can put his foot in it, though.
You're a fucking...
Oh, yeah, that's easy.
Now, the better question is, can he take his foot out of his mouth?
No, I cannot do that.
Yeah, but that'd leave another dilemma because he wouldn't know which foot to pick.
That's right. How many feet do I have?
That has to make walking difficult.
How would you even know how many feet that I have? How would you know that?
Oh my Jesus Christ.
Besides the fact that you've shown us your legs before, I'm pretty sure the answer is 2.
He's an encephalopod.
You can be pretty sure, but you're not totally sure, right? You're not totally sure.
Do you know which one's your left one and which one's your right one?
Would you know which one is my left or right? I mean, of course.
Yeah,
I
he's
do.
left one left. Said, I've had enough of this. I'm out.
Yeah, you guys should all leave. Right.
Aaron's just waiting out the panel so he could be the last person here to say he won.
Yep, the pigeon shitting on the chessboard.
No. Aaron literally is worried that he'll get stuck again, and he tried that before, Brian, and I destroyed him. I made him my bitch.
You won, Sean. You did win. That's right.
Let's see that clip of Aaron trying to panic on the escape.
How do I get out of here?
Oh, it was so beautiful. That was great. That was the greatest day of my life.
I still say it looked just like a scene from the Blair Witch Project.
I gotta find it real quick.
That's right. He turned the camera on too, didn't he? I forgot about that.
What is the
that big eyeball in the middle of the screen? I'm so scared I can't leave.
Jose, help me.
It sounds like the Blair Witch program, yeah.
Kick me out! Kick me out!
What is the vector of gravity?
It depends on.
What's the center of mass?
What's the vector of density?
There we go. Hey, that was an awesome retort right there.
A what?
What is the vector of density? Very good. I said, what is the vector of gravity? I heard down, down, towards the center of mass, down, down.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And
now
then
vector of density.
okay. Now that's not my question. I said, what is the vector of gravity?
He answered and then asked you a return question.
Hello, listen. He asked me a separate question. He said, what is the vector of density?
He answered and then asked you a return question.
Your question was answered. Your question was answered. I returned another question to you. So what's the vector of density?
What is the vector of gravity?
Purple.
Purple?
Oh, he thinks vector has a number to it.
What is the vector? Not number. Vector. I don't care about
Towards
number.
the center of mass.
Okay. What is the vector for a
Of
helium
density.
balloon? What is the vector for a helium balloon?
No,
we're going to do vectors now.
My turn to ask a question. My turn to ask a question. What's the vector of density?
Of debate. It's just set
equilibrium.
up for that gotcha and shit show.
That's
There
not a
is no
direction.
vector.
Zero.
It's not a vector either.
Zero is a vector.
No,
That's not a vector.
A
was zero.
vector denominates a direction.
Did he really just say zero is a vector? I have that clip. Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Yes, Sean. You have many a clip from this stream.
Oh man,
God, that's right up there with 5 divided by 0 is 5.
Yeah, that's what I was asking before to give you the
Anthony,
Apple,
go away.
The Apple problem.
Oh, here we go.
Zero divided by 0 is 0.
Hey, Aaron, did you know that there's a new formula out for the field for field?
Terry. I'm sharing. You may want to watch what I'm sharing. It becomes enjoyable in a second.
Okay.
Well, let me mute real fast so we don't blow everybody
I'm
out.
gonna press you on.
Sleep on your
gravity and all
side
that
so you don't throw
bullshit,
open your
so
mouth.
I gotta density is as long as it's equilibrium, right?
Wait, can you guys hear it?
There is no vector.
No, I only hear Aaron.
I'm trying to find how to make. There's a way.
I mean the other Aaron.
Hear it.
Yeah.
Hang on. I gotta play with my little voice or the voice meter potato thing.
I use banana.
Yeah, this is the same thing. It's just this one has a lot
Yeah,
more
I know.
to F up
I
on.
know.
What is the vector?
Too many for what I need.
What is the vector of gravity?
Why do you keep saying
You
that?
can't know that. You can't know that unless you know the refraction of density.
Well, you have
That's
to know
not
the
what
curvature of
Einstein and
banana.
Newton said. That's not what they say.
You have to know the curvature of banana and then divide it by apple.
Oh,
And then take that to the power of purple.
You mean I gotta fucking start a fruit farm? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Better move to Florida, that way you can grow everything.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's also got to make an apple large enough he can put his fist through.
Gee whiz. You guys are
It's just set up for that gotcha and shit
blew
show.
my mind tonight. You know.
Can you guys hear that?
I was thinking, I was on the edge right
Okay.
there. I was like, man, is it
I'm gonna
flat?
press
Is
you
it
on,
sphere?
sleep on your side so you don't throw up in your mouth.
I
gotta go.
It's
Yeah,
totally
I'm out of here. Fuck that.
Hug me in the
Answers
shadow.
don't matter to you anyway, so we might as well
Okay,
just go ahead
Aaron,
and make shit up, right?
It was good
It was
talking
fun.
to
That's
you.
my
Go ahead and
point.
bring your shovel.
It was
I'll bring a
fucking
front end
awesome,
loader.
dude. You guys did a
Okay.
great
Okay.
job at convincing folks.
I mean,
Or
obviously
not
not everybody
convincing, but
gets along,
reinforcing.
but
Reinforcing.
Aaron,
if it's
That,
set
that
up in the form of
a
debate,
banana
it's
and
just
an
set up for
apple
that gotcha
is
Terry,
shit
make sure you're watching the
vector
screen.
of gravity. Yep.
So
Yeah, don't forget about
You
the
already
fan.
answered by 9 other
Okay,
people
how
on
do
this
I
panel.
leave?
What's your
I
output to
can't
the
leave.
Literally
video?
talked about the window and asked this question again. So so it doesn't really matter. We've already answered your question. We asked you when to return, and you gave us a nonsense answer. So turnabout's going to be fair play. If you're not
What
willing
was
to,
the nonsense answer? I'm not sure.
you said that 0 was a vector. That's a nonsense answer.
Absolutely.
Top VLC, Sean, because then you can tell VLC what sound you want.
Say it again.
What is the vector of a free falling water bottle with bubbles in it?
Damn it, Aaron.
What is the
Terry, say it
vector
again.
and gravity force on that?
That again was a malformed question.
No, Bob the
Yeah.
science guy just posted a video showing a water bottle dropping
First
with
off, I'm not deaf.
bubbles in it, and the bubbles did not
Arwen.
rise to the top of the
Arwen,
bubble.
stop it, Arwen.
Listen.
Yeah, Aaron, you
tell
don't
me
understand the
where the
science
force
that is
is.
being shown to you.
Where's the
You're
force?
too drunk to understand it.
Okay. All right. Well, explain it to me.
What good
I
is it?
tried to, and then you went stupid on me.
I can't because I haven't seen it
Nobody
yet.
explained to me Bob's water bottle drop experiment. Nobody explained that.
Has he got selective forgetness?
He's definitely got some sort of drunken amnesia going on here. Either that or
If
he's
you've seen the video, Aaron, pick out the faults in the video, and then we can work from there.
He's a drunk Poe.
There are
That's
no
the problem.
faults. There are no faults. What I'm saying is, in Bob's depiction, when he dropped the
Don't
water
leave him
bottle,
in. Leave him in.
there was an acceleration, which means the water in the bottle was moving down, and the bubble itself was moving down. But that's
With the water.
not,
With the water.
that's not. Yeah, exactly. In the same medium, which is in a container, but that's not gravity. That's a 0G, right? That's a 0G.
No,
But what was pulling the bottle to the ground?
When you drop something, it's 0G, right?
No.
It's not zero gravity.
It has what's called neutral gravity inside the medium.
What's the airplane called that parabolics and goes,
No. The experiment you're
Yes,
talking
yes,
about
yes,
is
yes.
different to parabolic flight activity.
Stop it. When you free fall something, what's it called? It's called
free fall.
0G, right?
No.
Okay. So you're trying to tell me that when the plane is going down, which is what causes the 0G inside the plane, that there is nothing acting on the plane?
And for the record, it's called micro.
I didn't say that.
No, but this is what you're aiming for.
No, I said what's acting on the water bottle when I drop it.
Gravity.
Gravity is.
Okay. And so, what force is acting upon that water bottle when I drop it from 20 feet? Okay.
Gravity.
It's in free fall. It's in free fall, right?
But it's falling, so gravity.
So where's the
free
force?
fall is an acceleration?
I have an idea.
Okay.
Aaron, go
the
get your
bottle
wife.
has mass. The water has mass.
And we
Mass
can
times
translate
acceleration equals force. Therefore, gravity.
Wow, that's so awesome. So when the water bottle hits the ground and I stand it up on my picnic table, what's the acceleration right there?
It's still undergoing the same acceleration. It's just that it's
Oh my god!
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me! No way!
Yeah, you ask a question about one thing and then you carry on to something completely different. You're the perfect flat
No.
earther.
We're doing the same thing. When
We're
I
not
drop
doing
the
the
water
same. You're
bottle
not doing
from
the same
20
thing.
feet,
You're just
from 20
misappropriating
feet,
everything that's said.
and
You're not
it
listening.
experiences 0G.
Aaron,
It's
if you
what
want to
it
play the game where we just
experiences.
don't listen to each
And
other
then
and
it
talk,
hits
I
the
can absolutely
picnic
talk over you
table,
the entire
and I
time.
stand it up.
It'll piss the
on
audience off, but it'll amuse the fuck out of me.
Yeah, I do think we just need to keep talking over the top of him because that's all he's doing to us. Every time I'm trying to explain something to him, he just goes off on a tangent that has nothing to do with what we were talking about in the damn first place.
Good evening,
Now,
good morning.
now,
in
look
all
at-
due
look.
respect, it's not a tangent, it's an inverse hyperbolic cotangent.
Look what you've done, Aaron. You've woke Alan up.
Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Alan. How you doing? How you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I have to say, after Jose's show, which was my yesterday afternoon and my show last evening, I would have to say that when you drop the bottle, there is zero acceleration and zero force. It undergoes an upwards acceleration when it interfaces with the hard surface that it meets.
Okay. Good.
This is
So
this is what you get when you actually add up the vectors.
So when I
Because-
drop the water bottle, Alan, with all due respect, sorry, I just want to clarify the point by point what I was talking about. When I drop the water bottle, there is no G.
When you drop the bottle has net zero forces applied to it.
There is no G, correct?
To the bottle in its frame of reference.
Well, yeah, of course.
However, there is still acceleration.
So, in Bob's, sorry, Alan, I'll cut in real quick. In Bob the Science Guy's video there, where he dropped the water bottle and there were bubbles that were just, floating within the water there, they were also experiencing 0G net. No gravity, correct? No gravity, correct?
It's
No
not
gravity.
Not no
In
gravity.
that
frame of reference. In that frame of reference, there is a net zero application of forces.
Okay, so when the water bottle hit the ground, which way did the bubbles go?
That's immaterial.
You just
when the water bottle hit the ground, which way did the bubbles go?
That's a non sequitur.
They would have
It has nothing to
dispersed.
do with it.
They would have dispersed.
It has everything to do with it.
Aaron, I just answered it. The bubble would have dispersed when it had a force act against it.
So he's not listening.
What about the bubbles though? They didn't have a force acting against them.
The bottle, the
Ah,
water, and the bubbles all get accelerated in the same direction, opposite to that which they were traveling.
Thank you, Alan. That was a very good, calm.
In their frame of reference.
That's the key phrase.
Well,
I didn't quite hear that because Alan, I think he's sleeping or just woke up.
no, I am talking quietly because I have family members in the next room who are asleep still because it is only 6:49 in the morning, and I really don't want to wake them up.
That's right. No worries. We can all wait.
No. That would be
No,
bad.
because she'll come in. Yeah, she'll come in and say, "Are you talking to retards again?"
Yes, you will.
So, Alan, when the water bottle, well, let me clarify. Did you see Bob's video.
I haven't actually seen Bob's latest video. I haven't had an opportunity to
Oh my
yet.
god, you guys, you gotta watch that. I liked it.
Yeah.
I subscribed.
Aaron, it's 6:50 in the morning. I've only just got up. I've been asleep all night. I spent all of last evening running a hangout. Then I had some stuff to do. Then I went to bed. I didn't actually have a lot of opportunity to watch Bob's video.
No worries. No,
Speaking of Alan, I'm sorry for getting heated all over your show yesterday, but I got questions. Took me to the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob put his video out. About
Aaron,
So
he
what video is
knows.
it? Can somebody share a link to this video? I'd like to
19 hours ago, Bob said. Yeah.
Aaron, are you sober yet?
Yes, I'm here.
Are you sober
He's
yet?
not sober.
Carlos, he's got worse, all right?
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Does anybody got?
I've got the two Bob Sciences. There's part one and part two of those videos that I was gonna
Yeah, it's in part one.
About what
Is it?
time
Okay.
frame?
I got them.
Dr. Bob.
Yeah, I've got them here.
Hey, Dr. Bob, did you say you was working on another video about P-Brain? No.
I'll put it in the side chat. Does they want it in the side chat or the outside chat?
I got the video, but what minute?
Hey, Bob's here.
What minute mark is it?
Oh.
There's Bob. Hey,
It's about 7 minutes in the first video. I think the first video is about 13 minutes long. And it's about 7 minutes in when he drops the water bottle. Okay.
Anyway, Bob, did you say you were working on another video about P-Brain?
I think Bob may be away for the moment.
Again?
Yeah, and Aaron, by the way, just so you know, that video of the bottle is not Bob's. And Bob did not do that experiment.
Yes, sir. Yes, I agree.
Or he may have fallen asleep.
No, he just clicked unmuted a second ago.
Yes, sir. Alan, I agree. And Alan, continue. Yes. What else do you want to say about that?
All right, let's try this. Sorry about that, guys.
Hey, now we can hear you.
We keep getting asked about your video. We keep getting asked about your video, Bob, and I haven't watched it yet until Wednesday night on my live stream, so I can't say anything.
Well, I mean, I think you just put the link to it up.
Yeah, I've got them ready for
there's
my.
one link up there, and there's a second one here. I'm pulling that up now.
Yeah, I've got them both here.
It seems like Bob is going to talk about Rainier. Will that win?
And yes, to answer your question, Carlos, I just finished the final video on P-Brain. I was working on the thumbnail. That's what.
Davros, I've got some background noise there, bud.
Not from me. Yeah, I just finished that video on P-Brain. I'm not real happy with him this time because he falsified data, and that pissed me off. I thought it was insulting, so I ripped him a new one.
Oh, nice.
Did you touch more on the mountain on the mountain shadows, or you did more
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you see his last video?
I saw a little bit on. I think it was on Globe Busters. They brought up something.
Now, I want you guys to see this, and I want you to tell me what he did, because I figured it out.
When did it come out?
Oh, about 2 weeks ago. I told him I knew what he did, and I gave him an opportunity to withdraw it or admit it, and he didn't take it. So now his ass is mine.
Well, shoot, I'm gonna get a piece of that too, because I made a model of the mountain, and I'm gonna do.
Yeah, no, I saw it earlier. It was brilliant.
Someone has some serious wind blowing in their mic.
That's Bob.
Yeah, that's me. I got a fan.
Oh, I thought you were on top of Mount Rainier right now.
Yeah, I am. If I die of fucking heat stroke, it's going to be your fault.
I wouldn't put it past you, Bob, to go up on top of the mountain and say, "Look at this, mofos."
Well, yeah, I probably would. But I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this. I'm going to share my screen here in a second, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Is that all right, Sean?
And for what it's
Yeah.
worth, I've been part of the way up Mount Rainier, and the view is gorgeous.
Yeah.
You haven't.
All right, so let's go ahead and see what this. Let's go see what this does. All right, you guys have a picture of Mount Rainier?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been to Paradise Point and
got it.
Sunrise Point.
All right, I'm going to
Where
go
have
ahead
you
and play this. You tell me what he did.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
All right, watch this.
But then they go on to say, and they show a shadow like this, and they say, well, the only way this can be produced.
You got the sound?
The sun is
Yeah.
brighter than the clouds.
I want you to watch his experiment here and tell me how he did this.
I'm about 15 feet from the light source. My light is above my bathroom vanity, and it's about 7 feet up. I'm sitting on the ground, so my eyes and camera are about 3 feet off the ground. I raised the cloud and mountain up about 4 feet off the ground, and sure enough, I get that same shadow.
He's tilting
All right,
that.
Did you see what he did?
He's tilting that thing towards the light.
Yeah, it looks like it's tilted.
Yeah,
It is
goddamn
too.
right he is.
Yeah, it's not level.
Yeah, I mean he's falsifying the picture. You want to see what I did with it? Here, I'll show you guys what I did with it. Just
It's not even a
What's that?
shadow. It's a fucking CD, and it's not even. It's a mirror image. It's not even a shadow.
Yeah, but here, let me stop presenting. I'm going to show you what I did.
That was the first thing I noticed. It wasn't.
Yeah, I know. He faked it. Did you see that? You freaking believe that?
I believe anything with flat earthers. Point in case. Look at Aaron on here.
No, here.
Boom.
I'm going to go pull up the video for tomorrow.
Yeah, nothing in his shot was parallel. So how does that describe what he's trying to show?
And
He's showing us that he can make a shadow.
Hey, you
That's
guys,
about all.
I'll tell you. You guys want to see the? You guys want to see the video as a little preview?
Sure. Oh, a bit of a teaser.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Oh, bit of a teaser, eh?
I'll go
Yeah,
ahead and
just-
give you the whole. I'll give you the whole thing.
Nah, just a teaser, not the whole thing.
Yeah, just a teaser.
I need
leave
something
us,
on my
leave us,
work
hang,
in the morning,
leave us
Bob.
hanging at the most important part of it.
Only tits, Bob. We don't want the whole package.
Hey, Bob, how about we cover
No, go to
last
bed.
video? Yeah.
Aaron, go to bed.
Bob, how about we cover your last video there of
No, I don't think I
Aaron?
want to.
Yeah, Aaron, just let Bob do what he's wanting to do.
Puts out a little meme of me that's, rather to me, coming from an angle or an altitude lower than the peak of the mountain. Now, in this section,
Guys cannot prove the spinning ball, and all of the observations we see show that we're on
You're not staring.
flat, immovable or motionless Earth.
all right, so
Not
I'm going to go
presenting.
ahead. I'm going to go ahead and present here for a second, and I'm thinking I'm going to give you this one section here. Oh hell, it won't do it, will it? I wanted to go ahead and present the. I wanted to go ahead and present the one thing here, but I guess not. So I'll give you the screen.
Davros, as much fun as that sounds.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys have my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's not giving it to you?
No.
Nope.
Just getting your icon.
All right, let's try that one.
There we go.
Oh, something's happening.
Okay, now we're getting it.
All right.
Let her rip.
To cast that shadow on the clouds above it, the sun had to be coming from an angle or an altitude lower than the peak of the mountain. Now, in this section, I state my one and only argument when it comes to this photograph of the shadow cast by Mount Rainier. If you look at the top illustration, you see the sun is above Mount Rainier. The shadow will be cast downward at an angle. It is impossible for that shadow to appear on the cloud deck above the peak of Mount Rainier. The only way that you can get a shadow on the cloud deck is if the sun is shining from below the peak of Mount Rainier. I don't think this is the one I was looking for. Hang on.
Shadow on the mountain, on the clouds, they narrow both.
Fine. and said that you really played them. I'll tell you what. I have a question for you, Globebusters, specifically for you, Bob. You claim to be a pilot. Well, just so happens I'm a pilot too, an instrument-rated pilot. Can you see shadows on top of the clouds from the ground? Can you see anything in clouds? Can you reliably tell what's up from down, even in the middle of the day, if you're in a cloud? No, you can't, can you? So here's my conclusion, Mr. Bob the pilot. Either one, you approve this simply because it attacked me and it was a flat earth video and you like P-Brain. You clearly either A, didn't watch it, or B, as a pilot, you don't know your butt from your bicep and you just missed it. So which is it?
And I'm going to show you that this shadow that you think.
Bob Nodell may be one of the most dishonest flat earthers I've run across, simply on the basis of his claims of being an engineer, his claims of and his claims of being a pilot.
Well, the thing about it is you know, look, P-Brain put out this video that said that the shadow of the mountain was on top of the clouds. If Bob's a pilot, he knows goddamn well that you cannot see shadows cast on top of a cloud from underneath the cloud on the ground. All right? I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Not what the sharpness if you can see on those pictures.
You cannot see through a cloud deck. That's why you need an instrument rating to see where the hell you are. It's like trying to figure out where the sun is on a foggy day. It's very difficult to do. You're not going to see anything.
Well, not only that, but when you see those shadows casted on the bottom of the clouds, you can see the texture of the clouds actually being accentuated by the light source. So you can see all the features of the cloud deck from the bottom.
That's clearly direct sunlight shining underneath the cloud. It's not a shadow cast on top of the cloud, and Bob damn well should have known that.
Also, isn't it something like a pilot has a life expectancy of less than 2 minutes if he's in a cloud bank without instruments?
Yes, it's like 160 seconds.
So were you supposed to do a climb or descend?
How would you know what you're doing?
No, the only thing that you can do.
That's why you have instruments.
Yeah, and the only thing that you can do is you can sit down and level your wings, and you can do that. You can do that with your instruments, and pilots are trained to do that. And then you do a standard rate turn 180 degrees and get the fuck out of Dodge. You go right back out the way you came in if you live through it.
I've been on blind dates like that.
Yeah, basically, just level your wings and do a standard rate turn to the left and hope you make it.
Unlike the flat earthers, they just go right in the rabbit hole.
I remember when I was
flat earthers don't like to turn.
Coming off the top of the winch and on the lesson of recovery from unusual attitudes, to find that my horizon was at about 45 degrees down because I was just touching the bottom of the cloud base. I was just not too high that still low enough I could still see the ground, thank God, because that glider didn't have anything in the way of instrumentation at all.
Yeah,
I had a piece of string.
It had a piece of string stuck to
They're actually, well, a piece of string won't necessarily help you, especially if you're turning.
No, not in.
Now, there is one thing that you can do. There is an old trick that you can do, and that is you trim up, you cut back on your power, you trim up, and try and keep your wings level. And what you end up doing is you go into a slow corkscrew-like turn going down, and hope that you get out of the cloud before you hit the ground.
I mean, I was fortunate.
That is, that's a freaking emergency measure, but I don't even think they teach it anymore. But
Yeah,
Basically, you let go of things and hope for the best.
Yeah, I would say I didn't have any engine to cut back. I mean, you know, I just jettisoned that by pulling the yellow knob to
5 minutes,
get rid of the
people.
winch cable.
I think I
All
can
right, well,
relate.
guys, it's time for me to hit the sack too. So good night to you, Sean, and good night, everybody.
Sleep well, Bob.
All right,
Good
take
night,
care.
Good night, Bob.
That video will be out at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh, just in time for me to catch it going between clinics.
Yeah, but
I'll
yeah, that
probably
was the
still be
thing.
awake.
I mean, I'll tell you something. I couldn't believe it. I'm looking at that thing, and the guy tilted it up, and it's obvious to see that he tilted it up.
Hmm.
You know, he did it with a camera angle, and that's I can't stand dishonesty.
Well, he had to find some way to make parallel lines intersect.
I just can't stand dishonesty, and the problem is guys over at Globebusters are relatively intelligent. They damn well should have caught that before they promoted him.
What are you talking about? These guys brought Professor Dave on, and when Dave explained to them why their models were conflicting, they just muted him and told him to stop. They have no honesty.
They have some honesty, but at least they have some intelligence, and they have self-preservation. They knew that there were people like me and you and others out there that would catch them on it.
Well, you do realize that Bob Nodell has not gone to any other platform that has the globe heads or globe defenders because he knows that they were going to call him out on multiple things.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, think about it. He's never stepped foot on any platform that has anybody from the opposite side, and even with his own people, he has been called out on the Tartaria series, and also he's been called a shield.
Well, tell me he's not a Tartarian, is he?
No, the Globebusters cover the some of the flood mud floods and stuff, and some people are giving him some hate because they said that it was taking focus away from the flat Earth and making flat Earth look stupid.
Well, no, actually, the mud flood makes flat Earth look pretty good.
Exactly. So, yeah, and
I've got a series called "Make Tartaria Great Again."
I know, right? Well, the fact that he had on that website that he was a commercial pilot, and then somebody called him out on it, which was Woofy, and then the next day that was gone from the website. I mean, and he has never touched on that subject. It's not mentioned it or anything. So, anyway, yep.
Yeah. The guy also claimed to be an RF engineer and said that if you took that the sun, as it goes further away from you, would become invisible. So, I mean,
oh my gosh, angular size. Yeah, I called him out on a super chat.
Guys,
I said even without being able to resolve something, you still can receive light from it.
Hey guys,
and he's like, "You're right."
Hello.
But and then he whatever rhetoric is.
Carlos.
He said the inverse square law has a limit. But
what the inverse square law doesn't have, it goes on forever. It just can get.
I've never heard of a limited infinite
I
series.
literally forgot that I had changed my mic setting, so I'm sitting here yelling at Carlos because he's talking when I'm trying to talk.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I'm tired of shit. That's why I stopped talking. I'll keep the panel open if you guys want to keep going. But I gotta end the stream before I fall asleep, and then you guys hear me snore.
Yeah, I'm ready.
No worries, we got it.
Yeah.
I'm ready to.
We need a sound bite of you snoring.
I got some sound bites, but it ain't me snoring.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to record yourself doing that on stream.
For real. Hey, I appreciate you guys. Shut up. No, shut up. I'm leaving, dude. I'm tired. I'm getting out of here. I gotta leave. I gotta get out of here. Are you going live tonight, Terry?
Not till Wednesday night.
Okay.
I might random go some nights. Depends who comes over onto the Discord and hangs out over there. And then I'll go, yeah, I might do a random hangout.
Hey, Sean, did you know Matt Hughes was in a car accident?
Yeah, that was like a couple years ago, dude.
I didn't know. I just found out.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. He was he was in a coma for a couple months.
Yeah, I just watched a documentary on him on how amazing it is that he's actually functioning.
Yeah, it was a they thought he was going to be dead. They thought he would die when he went into a coma, and he literally just wakes up and dude's like fully functional, no brain damage, crazy.
Wow.
The crazy part is the dude has a twin brother too.
He had some level 3 brain damage where the brain gets molded together and can't communicate from left to right.
Like flat earther brain damage.
Like Brian would probably know about this.
No, that's north to south, Carlos.
I've never heard it being fused and not do that.
Well, not fused. It was some kind of.
He might have had he could have had a corpus callosum tear.
Yeah, that's what it is. It was a level 3 corpus callosum tear.
Ooh.
All right, guys, I gotta get out of here. I can keep one eye open, and that's about it right now. You guys can go ahead and keep going. I'm just gonna end the stream, and I'll be right back.
Bye.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I'm tired. I do appreciate everyone being here. That was fun. Today was a fun one. I liked it. I thought it was actually today's streams. You know, the one with Jose and this one. Sometimes you just need to kick it, relax, and just be. You don't need to argue. We don't need to make sure our point is the one for the night. I like to hang out. I like to chill, BS with the guys and the ladies. And for that, I mean, again, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.